head coach. He's Calgary's all-time winningest coach. Last year, Buono Stamps lost only 5 times. The loss tonight would equal that.
In week number 6, Troy Westwood will kick it off. On the left is Kelvin Anderson. On the right is Marvin Coleman. Coleman, a dangerous return man on kickoff and punt return. Westwood kicks it away, and we are underway in Calgary. A low driving kickoff. Coleman watches it roll out of bounds at the 8-yard line, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be forced to do it again as Troy Westwood tried a punch shot into that tough wind blowing from left to right, as you see it on your screen. Well, I'll tell you what, this has not been a kind stadium to a lot of teams, most notably the Bombers. Their last 5 games here, the average margin of defeat has been 25.8 points, including a 27-point thrashing here 1 year ago.
Well, Gord, I think they're hoping to throw those stats out the window with the new coach, new faces on that ball club. They're hoping to throw those stats right out the window.
But there is something to it, though, Glenn, isn't there? There's just places where no matter who the people are, they just don't play well.
And you can't put your finger on why. If you could, I guess you'd win all the time. But you're right. I mean, I used to love to play in Hamilton for some reason, and you just have stadiums you like playing in and stadiums you don't like going to. And I hated coming here as a player, that's for sure.
Westwood now 5 yards back at the 30, once again kicking it into the wind. Now Coleman and Anderson have changed places. Westwood drives it deep, and this is Marvin Coleman from the 15-yard line. Coleman looking for a seam. Here he comes, Marvin Coleman, out across the 45 to the 48-yard line before he's finally stopped. Andrew Henry down to make the stop, a 33-yard kickoff return. The Calgary offense is led by 27-year-old Jeff Garcia. Only Doug Flutie has completed more passes in the Canadian Football League this year. He's coming off his best week last week against Saskatchewan in a loss. In the offensive backfield, the names and numbers remain the same. Vince Danielson is Calgary's leading receiver, and the offensive line has surrendered 13 sacks already this year, 8 in the Canadian Football League. On first down, the toss goes to Kelvin Anderson. Anderson picks his way across midfield, and here he goes. Kelvin Anderson down to the 42-yard line. Big run by Kelvin Anderson, and the saving tackle is made by Andrew Henry.
Immediately the guy that makes this offense go, Kelvin Anderson, they want to get him involved running the football out of the backfield and catching the ball. I think if he touches the ball 20, 25 times tonight, Calgary is going to be in good shape on offense.
A 19-yard gain for Kelvin Anderson, who last week was held to 16 yards on 7 carries. First down Calgary at the Winnipeg 42. Here comes the blitz. Garcia sees it and gets it quickly to Kelvin Anderson. And Anderson, with his second touch already, is down to the 35-yard line. A pickup of 7 yards.
It's about 6 yards.
The Winnipeg defense has had some changes of note as well. Back into the lineup, Tyrone Rogers at nose tackle and Glenn Scrivener at defensive end. And in the defensive backfield, Jeff Horton out of the corner. In his second year in the Canadian Football League, played 2 games for the Hamilton Ticats 1 year ago. 2nd and 3 Calgary, and Garcia back under center. Back to Kelvin Anderson. And this time Anderson is stuffed at about the 33-yard line. That'll leave him a good yard short of a Calgary first down. So 3 plays and 3 gives to Kelvin Anderson.
Well, by Kelvin Anderson being involved in the offense, immediately establishes him as a threat. Now the defense, Glenn, has to respect Kelvin Anderson as a receiver and as a running back.
They do, and the one thing that they're going to see from Calgary is that Kelvin Anderson will be used in a lot of different ways this evening, and the reason for that is for the first time in years, the Calgary Stampeders do not have a legitimate 5R receiver or 5th receiver in the package. Fred Bailey is out of the lineup.
Wally Buono thought about gambling for a moment, but it's a long couple of yards, and Mark McLaughlin will come on. 8 for 14 on the year. McLaughlin got off to a horrendous start, now trying one from 41 yards out. McLaughlin is 3 for 7 outside the 40 this year. That's been his problem range. But this time he fires it through, and the Calgary Stampeders score their opening possession. A 3-0 Calgary lead on Friday Night Football from McMahon Stadium. And Wally just wants wants a win with the works, and that would get his team right back into the race in the Western Division. Despite the bad start, the Calgary Stampeders have lots ahead of them, namely the Edmonton Eskimos coming up, and of course next week the Toronto Argonauts are here. Right now his team with a 3-0 lead as Mark McLaughlin sends it deep. This is Dexter Dawson moving his way through and getting up to about the 35-yard line, which is exactly where Winnipeg would have gotten the ball anyway. Here is the Winnipeg offense led by 25-year-old Kevin McDougall, a graduate of Notre Dame University, making his 7th CFL start. Joining him in the offensive backfield, a couple of guys to keep an eye on. Turhan O'Bannon, number 9, moves out to wide receiver. Tyrone Montgomery plays slot back as he makes his CFL debut. And on the offensive line, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have the Giants on the left-hand side. Christopher Perez and Brett McNeil, 6'5", 290 each. First down, Winnipeg. McDougall, quick drop, now gives it off. And this is the first touch of the game for Ronald Williams. And look at Ronald Williams go close to midfield as he gets out to the 53-yard line, a gain of 20 yards.
Now, Ronald Williams is as important to this offense on Winnipeg side as Kelvin Anderson is for Calgary. He needs to be involved in the offense. Last week, he was not involved in the offense. He's the second leading rusher in the CFL. He's the guy that makes this offense go. It allows Kevin McDougall now to play action and get Tyrone Montgomery and some of these new receivers involved in the offense.
Ron Williams came into the game, averaging 5.4 yards a carry, and that won't hurt. First down, Winnipeg from the Bomber 53. McDougall in the shotgun. Setting up the screen for Williams. He's got blocks in front of him and can't get outside. Marvin Coleman with a good open field tackle limits the gain to 7. This Calgary defense has been tough on the pass, allowing only 4 touchdown passes all season long. And they've got the same lineup they had in last week. Keep an eye, though, on Anthony McClanahan, number 41. And also William Hampton, number 21, remains in a corner as Al Jordan is still a couple of weeks away. And, of course, the Stamps are still without Alondra Johnson, middle linebacker Raymond Biggs taking his spot. They mark it as a gain of 8. It's 2nd and 2. Winnipeg with the short yardage team in. And McDougall gives it off to Ron Williams. He'll be close to a first down as he gets near the Calgary 47-yard line.
You know, to expand on that thought with Ronald Williams, he already has more yards rushing for Winnipeg than their last year's leading rusher, Michael Richardson, and that's just after 5 games. So, like David Archer mentioned earlier, this is a guy that really has to see the football a lot tonight for Winnipeg to have success.
Now a measurement on the Williams carry, and it looks as though he'll be short of the Winnipeg first down, and it's just under a yard. So Wally Buono elected earlier not to gamble. What will Jeff Reinbold do here? He shows no indication of sending the punting unit out in the field.
I think you got to gamble here, Gordon. I mean, you got to have confidence in that offensive line that they can get that yard, fire off the ball. They know the snap count should have a little bit of a jump on the D line, and you got to be confident in that group to get the first down.
Plus, the punt would be into a pretty stiff wind here, and you might not get much out of it anyway. So it's 3rd and a yard, and Winnipeg will go gambling. Williams, the lone back. McDougall gives it to him, and Williams down to about the 45-yard line. He'll have the Winnipeg first down. Well, a lot has been made about Winnipeg's poor start, but think about this. The Bombers didn't get any breaks from the schedule maker. Winnipeg plays 5 of its first 7 on the road.
First and 10 after Stampede 6.
First down, Winnipeg from the 45-yard line. McDougall swings it out there for Tyrone Montgomery. Montgomery has the catch, gets down to the 43-yard line. A pickup of a couple for Tyrone Montgomery, whose 3 brothers, Cleve, Wilbert, and Fred, all played in the NFL. And in fact, Wilbert Montgomery was the key to getting into the Canadian Football League. Wilbert Montgomery is an assistant coach
with the St. Louis Rams. Jeff Reinbold went down to St. Louis to meet with their coaching staff, and Wilbur said, hey, take a look at my brother. Played for the Raiders for 3 years. He's a guy who could really help your team out.
They are excited about Tyrone Montgomery. They said that he's got tremendous speed. In fact, watching practice, he was making the other receivers look like they were standing still.
Second and long, and now play is called as the time had expired.
Violation. Winnipeg 15.
Dave Ewell is tonight's referee, and the Bombers find themselves in penalty trouble once again. This is the team that has been penalized the most in the Canadian Football League through 5 weeks of the season.
We saw the short pass to Tyrone Montgomery.
So the Bombers once again in trouble, now find themselves in 2nd and 13 and move back to the 48-yard line. McDougall from the shotgun will take off. McDougall's got a long way to go and runs right into Anthony McClanahan. And McClanahan, who's had quite a week himself, limits the gain to 4. It'll be 3rd and a bundle for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Anthony McClanahan comes up with another big stop from the outside linebacker position.
Kevin McDougall has the green light to do this anytime he doesn't see 6 defenders in the box. In other words, he doesn't count 6 people right in front of him from Calgary. He has the option to take off and run on his own. Joe Paupau's tried to simplify things a little bit for McDougall, and that's one of the ways to do that. Give him an option to run whenever he wants to.
Bob Cameron to punt it away into the wind. A good kick, angling for the sidelines. It bounces to Marvin Coleman, who steps out of bounds at the 7-yard line. A 37-yard punt by Bob Cameron, and no return. Friday Night Football returns from Calgary right after this. The barber's chair and get that done. You know, Dave, that'll be a good look for you.
I hope he didn't pay for that.
You got a free bowl of soup with it, I think.
Oh, yeah, you tell him that to his face. First down, Jeff Garcia from the 7 under pressure. Sidearms it there into coverage. He was looking for Terry Vaughn, but the pass falls incomplete. Jeff Garcia this week pleading with Calgary fans for patience, saying they're doing what they can, but offensive coordinator Tony Marciano said this week that there's clearly something missing from the Calgary offense.
Yeah, and I think it's some of those people that aren't in the lineup. We've talked about some of them at the top. They talked about Alan Pitts back in the studio, but some of these people that are playing here tonight have to step up. Obviously, Kelvin Anderson is the guy they're holding everything on.
Second down for Garcia, once again on the shotgun, once again facing the blitz. He goes over the top for Vince Danielson. The pass falls incomplete. Andrew Henry, the safety, came over to help out over the top. 2 and out for Calgary.
Well, pretty good pressure by Greg Battle right up the middle. Winnipeg this game is not going to run as many blitzes with straight man-to-man coverage. This is a blitz, from Greg Battle, but they played zone defense behind it, and that's why Andrew Henry had an opportunity to come over and help out on that deep ball.
Tony Martino to punt, the CFL's leading punter so far this year with a 46.3-yard average. And he's got a big-time win behind him as Dexter Dawson is the lone man back to receive. Martino hits it short. Hits the turf. Dexter Dawson at midfield. Here comes Dexter Dawson down across the 45. He picks his way down to about the 43. Farrell Duclair gets down to make the stop with Roger Reinson, a 48-yard punt, a return of 13. But there is a flag on the play. Pretty good field position for the Bombers as it is. Now the decision, and they want to make Martino punt it away again. Return guys always want to take the penalty because they always think they can do better.
Well, and the cover guys are tired, so they may have a chance to do better. It depends on whether the punt is.
So the return blockers went out over the return guy. And there's Milt Stiegel in the Winnipeg offense getting set to go to work. Last week, Stiegel, 5 catches for 98 yards in the loss to Hamilton last week. Bombers with good field position at the 44-yard line. McDougall Lots of time. All day, in fact. Now McDougall stepping up, and he's got a lane to run. Gets past Biggs, gets a block, and McDougall steps out of bounds at the 21-yard line. And there's the element of running you talked about in the opening game.
Yeah, we talked to Kevin McDougall before the game, and I asked him, hey, you're going to get into the game and just look to run? And he goes, no. If the opportunity presented itself, I'm going to look downfield, see what I have, see if I got somebody to throw the ball to. If I don't, then I'm going to pull it down and try to make something happen myself. This is the element that he gives them.
A 23-yard gain for Kevin McDougall.
What a job by that O-line for Winnipeg. Chris Perez and Craig Hendrickson holding off that rush from the Calgary Stampeders and giving McDougall all that time.
First down now from the 21. McDougall on play action. Going towards the end zone, but the pass falls incomplete. He was looking there to Alan Boyko, who was stuck in double coverage. Roger Reinson and Eddie Davis were there. It'll be second down.
Roger Reinson, number 31.
But another wrinkle from Joe Paopao. Now he has the ability to move the quarterback. Here a bootleg. McDougall's going to sprint out, look for the guy he wants to throw to. He forces it inside there. But this is just another element. The ball was thrown high there. Maybe should have been caught. We don't know. But another element of surprise there.
And what Joe Paopao wants to do is try and attack the middle of the field a little bit. He told me Roger Reinson has played safety before, but hasn't had a lot of reps in the middle, so you may see Winnipeg attack that area.
Second down from the shotgun. McDougall again has lots of time. Flags are down. More flags. And McDougall gets away. And finally, McDougall steps out of bounds at the 25-yard line. One of those has to be holding, and it is against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So McDougall, no doubt knowing that, decided not to take any unnecessary abuse.
Well, good decision, too, not to throw the football into coverage down the field. Obviously didn't have anybody open, stepped out of bounds, realized he had the holding penalty.
Winnipeg 57. Penalties decline. Third down.
Brett McNeil is called for holding. The penalty is declined, and
it was a good call by the official because Brett McNeil was working on Ernie Brown. Here's Brett McNeil, here's Brown, just really one-on-one pass rush, and you're going to see a good job of getting that left arm around from Brett McNeil and just holding Ernie Brown, not letting him free.
Troy Westwood now will try the field goal from 32 yards out. This for the tie into the win. Bob Cameron, the holder. Westwood gets it up and fights it through. So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have pulled even 3-3 to score in the first quarter on Friday Night Football. Stadium in Calgary, where the Stampeders and Bombers are even at 3. And there's Danny Barrett. Last week, Glenn, you were nice enough to wish Danny Barrett's son a happy birthday. But you know, you ever get that feeling like you forgot something, Dave? Like, you know, sometimes there was old Glenn doing that. It was his wife's birthday. He forgot to wish her a happy birthday.
I blew it.
Here's Marvin Coleman on the kickoff return from the 20, and Coleman's got a seam out across the 45. Coleman gets up to the 47.
But Gord, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, really, you know, that was the thing.
And I was thinking just to do it. When I said happy birthday to Zachary, I just had forgot to say happy birthday to my wife.
So on behalf of all of us at TSN, Elizabeth, we apologize. It'll never happen again. They always say the best way to remember your wife's birthday is to forget it once.
You got that right.
A 26-yard kickoff return by Marvin Coleman gives Calgary good field position out to the 47. First down, the give goes to Kelvin Anderson, and Kelvin Anderson runs right into Greg Battle. And Battle, who had just 11 tackles coming into this football game, has a big one here. It'll be no gain for Kelvin Anderson, or maybe a yard.
If you know the great veteran Greg Battle, as the games become more and more important, and no more than this one tonight, the veterans start to step it up a little bit, start to become a factor. Greg Battle knows what it takes to win. He's been the most outstanding defensive player twice.
Second down, it's a long 8 for the Stampeders.
So second and a bunch now for the Calgary Stampeders from their own 48-yard line, and Battle barks out the defensive signal. Here comes the blitz. Garcia gets it away up the middle. Vince Danielson with the jet. And Calgary's leading receiver is inside Winnipeg territory to the 47-yard line, exploiting the middle of the defense is what you talked about, Dave, on the pregame show.
Well, they're coming. There's nobody in the middle of the field, and here Danielson just runs across the field, and he's actually exploiting Shannon Garrett, who's nursing that broken hand.
A 15-yard gain for Vince Danielson, the former university quarterback at UBC.
15 yards, it's first down, Stampeders at the 47 of Winnipeg.
From the 47. Garcia wants to go over the top, and the pass is incomplete. I'm not sure Terry Vaughn and Travis Moore were on the same page as Jeff Garcia that time.
Well, I think it was a great job by Reggie Carthage, Glenn. It looked like he misdirected the slot receiver and kind of pushed him out into Terry Vaughn, and it ended up being a bad play for Calgary.
Yeah, Reggie Carthon sometimes by disguise can give Jeff Garcia a little bit of a different look, and I don't think that Terry Vaughn read the coverage in time and realized which way to get up there, and Garcia just threw that one away.
Now 2nd and 10 for the Stamps, and finishing drives has been a problem for Calgary this season. Garcia wants to go over the top again. Now instead finds Joseph Rogers, and Rogers has a first down on the 29-yard line, moving the sticks once again for the Calgary Stampeders as the East Division's top rookie has his first catch of the game and a pickup of 18.
I'm sorry, this is the guy that's going to come in here and make the catch, Joseph Rogers. They simplified things a bit for Rogers in that they're going to leave him out at the wide receiver position so he doesn't have to read as much. I think that may be one of the reasons that he hasn't been as productive as people have expected from him.
First down Calgary from the 29. Garcia looking once again to Rogers, and Rogers well covered on the play by Brandon Hamilton. Sees the pass go incomplete as Garcia indicates immediately, my fault.
It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, obviously, Calgary's trying to get everybody involved. Joe Rogers is normally a slot receiver for this ball club, but they moved him outside, caught the last pass. This one, he didn't quite come back to the football. You see Jeff Garcia he wants him to come back to the ball. So,
well, what I couldn't figure out about Joseph Rogers, and I asked you about it, David, was how does he have 1,300 yards last year with you in Ottawa, and it's off to the slow start this year?
Well, I think the offense is obviously different, and I think they're expecting him to read some things that he's not able to read.
Here's Garcia over the top. Terry Vaughn had it for a moment. It's incomplete. Boy, that was just the way you drew it on the pregame show, David. You're talking about sending a guy just streaking up the middle of the field, and that pass was just inches out of the reach of Terry Vaughn.
And this is the guy they wanted to get involved in their offense was Terry Vaughn. He was a big play guy for them last year. Now they get him inside. He's normally outside. They get him inside of the slot. Down the middle of the field makes a good read. Jeff made a nice throw. Terry's got to make that catch.
Boy, it was just like we drew it up. Safety Andrew Henry had left the middle. Terry Vaughn recognized it. It was just like the defense we drew up in the pregame show. No safety in the middle. Obviously, Calgary's seen it too.
Mark McLaughlin now with a field goal try from 36 yards out, just to restore the Calgary lead. McLaughlin with a little punch shot. Puts it out McLaughlin's 2 for 2, and Calgary has a 6-3 lead. And Terry Vaughn and Jeff Garcia were this close to 6.
Football Mark's Day in School session. A special welcome to all the students.
This really has been the problem for the Calgary Stampeders. They've had opportunities to make plays this season like this one right here from Terry Vaughn. He has to come up with that catch. It's a difference of 4 points now for Calgary.
Interesting to note for the Calgary Stampeder offense, only twice this year has Calgary driven the ball more than 60 yards and scored a touchdown.
And I think Jeff Reinbold knows that too, and he's playing on that defensively. He's playing maybe a little off, not going to be as aggressive tonight on defense. Make him go the distance, make him put 10, 12 plays together. They don't believe they can do it.
Hey, Glenn, it's tough enough, when you think about it. If you put an offense on the field with no defense out there, completing 10, 12 passes in a row is tough.
Well, I love that. We talked to Adam Rita in BC about that. He said, catching 12 passes in a row and executing the play perfectly is tough against air. So if you have to throw the defense in there with the pass rush and everything else, it makes it awful difficult. And Wally Buono knows that.
Interesting strategy here by the Bombers. Rather than taking the ball at the 35, they'll force Calgary to kick off with the wind and see what Dexter Dawson could do with it. Or Tyrone Montgomery. Here's Montgomery from the 12-yard line. Montgomery gets right back to the 35. That's twice Winnipeg has done that. Both times the return has gone right to the 35-yard line. A 23-yard return as Ronald Williams and company get set to go back to work. And you talked about the week he had last week. 10 carries for 32 yards. A miserable day for him last week, but the last couple of weeks, tack on the 190 yards he had against BC. He's doing all right.
That'll dress it up pretty nice.
That helps the average.
First and 10 from the Bomber 35.
And the Bombers now from their own 35. Under 3 minutes to play here in the opening quarter. McDougall has time, goes over the top, has a man open, and he's got it. Milt Stegall in a foot race. He has got it. Touchdown, Winnipeg. 75 yards.
Looks up, Milt Stegall, number 85, and it's a 75-yard
Milt
touchdown.
Stegel's second touchdown catch of the season. And just like that, the Bombers, victims of the big play, uncork one of their own.
Well, it all starts with protection. They came after McDougall this time. It's man coverage in the secondary. Reinson's not able to get over, and it's a well-thrown ball by McDougall.
That's the key, David Archer, is that Roger Reinson jumped Tyrone Montgomery on the shorter post pattern, and that left Milt Stegall in behind on Eddie Davis with no safety help, and that's tough.
And now, Troy Westwood for the point after. It is good. Well, you talk about putting together those long drives. The Bombers say to heck with that. That's a one-play, 75-yard touchdown drive, and Milt Stegall does the work.
Milt Stegel's having a great year. He's on pace this season to have over 1,500 yards receiving, and you know that's the kind he wants to get.
Well, at the beginning of the year, we talked to Jeff Reingold about his receiver corps, and they were pretty young, not a lot of experience, and he's had to change up some. We see Tyrone Montgomery a part of the ball club now, but Milt Stegall, he pointed out specifically, was a guy that he felt was ready to step to the next level as a premier receiver in this league, and he's made the big plays for this team when they've made big plays. Milt Stegel's been the guy.
Missed the last 7 games of the year, last year with a knee injury, but still, Milt Stegall was able to record 600 receiving yards. And there's the man in the middle, Roger Reinson. Calgary safety pressed into service when Greg Knox suffered the torn Achilles.
Well, Greg Knox is out. Roger Reinson talked to Joe Palpao about it. He says he's played safety, but he's usually a linebacker, and they would try to victimize him in the middle, and they did on that last play. Kevin McDougall with the great throw to Milt Stegall, but Joe Palpao talked about how they could influence Roger Reinson in the middle.
And now the Winnipeg offense, after that nifty little drive, will take a rest and say, hey, that was easy. Can't wait to get back out there. Kelvin Anderson now from the 12-yard line. Here comes Anderson, gets outside, and delivers the blow as he went helmet to helmet with Andrew Henry. It looks like Kelvin Anderson got the better of that exchange. Another good kickoff return, 39 yards. And the Calgary Stampeders will have excellent field position as they open at their own 49-yard line.
Well, we talked about the players-only meeting that this ball club had during the week, and a lot of times attitude change comes on special teams,
Absolutely, and you can get some momentum back. A big play, especially after a Winnipeg score, gets that momentum back on your side in one play.
Garcia on first down, gives it off to Anderson, reverses his tracks. Great cut by Kelvin Anderson. Here he goes outside. Anderson on Henry again. And this time, Anderson dives out of bounds as he gets down to the 37-yard line. A pickup of 24 yards for Kelvin Anderson.
What a move Kelvin Anderson puts on Shante Peoples right here. He's going to start working with it. Watch this move right there. Freeze number 56, Shante Peoples gets to the outside. And, you know, they talked about here in Calgary all week about making things happen after the initial play. Little more second effort on the receivers and backs.
Kelvin Anderson last week with a costly fumble late in the game that lets Saskatchewan kick the game-winning field goal. So far, making amends for that, 4 carries for 45 yards. On first down from the 37, back to the ground they go. Kelvin Anderson, here he goes again. Down to the 30-yard line, a pickup of 7 yards for the CFL Rookie of the Year of 1996.
When you got a running back making people miss like he did the play previous on Shante Peoples, it really fires up your offensive line. Now your offensive line knows they don't necessarily need to stay with blocks quite as long. They can get to the second level of the defense, which is the linebackers and secondary people. Make some blocks downfield, extending the runs.
Now second and short for the Calgary Stampeders. And Garcia in the shotgun. Quick throw for Vince Danielson. The pass falls incomplete. Shannon Garrett was there on the coverage. Third down Calgary, and another drive stalls for the Stampeders.
Calgary yesterday and the day before the game practice. That That practice is usually just a walkthrough to go over special teams, but Wally Bono had cut down early in the week to save the players' legs, and yesterday he worked on what they call the red zone play. Once you get inside the 35-yard line, specific plays that will get you in the end zone. They're paying more attention to it here in Calgary because they haven't had success.
Well, so far it's been all Mark McLaughlin in this football game. He'll try this one from 37 yards out.
Number 13, Mark McLaughlin.
And this to pull Calgary within a point. McLaughlin's 2 for 2. Make that 3 for 3 now. 3 McLaughlin field goals to count for all the Calgary scoring. And Winnipeg now has a 10-9 lead on the Stampeders. It's got to be frustrating, though, for the Calgary Stampeders, Dave, when you think about the good offensive production they've had so far in the game, and no touchdowns to show for it.
Well, Mark McLaughlin, he's made 8 of his last 9, but talking about not being able to get the ball in the end zone, I go back to that last call. I think they rolled the dice and put all of their money on one specific pass route, which was Danielson running an out route versus man coverage. I don't think they're giving Garcia enough options in that situation. It's a conversion down. If Danielson's not there, he had to make a perfect pass because of good close coverage. Give him another option to go to. I think that they're putting a little bit in the old adage, putting too many eggs in one basket. Obviously, Danielson, that was a tough throw for Garcia. He put it the only place he could without being picked off.
Now Calgary will once again kick it off to Winnipeg, and this is intriguing. The Bombers will again try the return game, and so far it hasn't cost them anything. Each time they've gotten right back to the 35-yard line, which is where they can have the ball for free.
Well, they're so excited about the two guys back there, and Tyrone Montgomery and Dexter Dawson, and they want to get them the ball any way they can. This is one way.
So McLaughlin to kick it off, and the wind gusting at his back. There's Dexter Dawson. McLaughlin sends a knuckleball down to Montgomery at the 5. Here comes Tyrone Montgomery. And he gets to the 25, and this time it'll cost Winnipeg 10 yards. Good special teams coverage by Calgary. And 20-yard return as Aldi Henry comes up to make the stop. Well, last time he got his hands on the ball, it was a 75-yard touchdown. What do Bill Stiegel and the Bombers have in store for Calgary this
69
time?
on the kickoff for Mark McLaughlin. And the Bombers.
Yet another player who came to the Canadian Football League from the University of Cincinnati. And the league can thank Dave Ritchie for that. The Montreal head coach, a former coach at Cincinnati, and a lot of players followed him up here as well. McDougall on first down from the shotgun. Gives it off to Ronald Williams, and Williams fights his way out close to the 30-yard line. Tripped up there by Darryl Hall.
One thing you're seeing, Gord, is every time Ron Williams gets the ball up the middle, Kevin McDougall is continuing to roll out. Even though he doesn't have the ball, he keeps checking the corner of the Calgary defense, Marvin Pope and Dwayne Patterson, to see if they're respecting him rolling out there.
And it definitely widens the running lanes, Glenn. If you're widening the defensive end by a fake from the bootleg off a quarterback, that gives that cutback lane to Ronald Williams. And Ronald does such a great job of what I call pressing the hole, staying with his blocks, and finding the crease.
Now, Ronald Williams lined up at the top of your screen as a wide receiver. It's 2nd and 6. McDougall, lots of time, throws it underneath for Montgomery. The pass ball's incomplete just as the flag comes down. And holding will once again be the call against Winnipeg, surely to be declined by Calgary, will force the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to punt.
Holding, Winnipeg 61. Penalties declined. 3rd down.
Kai Bjorn called for holding, so even had the first down conversion held, would have been called back, and that is the final play of the opening quarter. One big play by Winnipeg has been the difference, a 75-yard touchdown by Bill Stiegel. Second quarter still to come right now. Stand by for Friday Night Football. Thank you, Rod. And of course, Baba Bilovich doesn't wear his earrings on the air, but we all know he loves to wear them away from the office.
He's got the big hoops, doesn't he?
Yeah, he likes the big hoops, and he wears the little bandana. He's quite a dapper guy away from the office. 3rd and 6 now for the Bombers to open the second quarter. Bob Cameron will punt with the win. Low snap, he just gets it away. Good kick. This is Terry Vaughn from the 30-yard line. Gets a good block from John Kalin. And Vaughn gets out to about the 39-yard line. 51-yard punt and a return of 8. Here are the numbers from the opening 15 minutes brought to you by Midas. Net yards, 134 for Winnipeg, 75 of them on one play, 92 for Calgary. But all those yards for the Stamps netted just 3 Mark McLaughlin field goals. You heard Bob Abilovich talking a moment ago. You know, I talked to Dave Dickinson yesterday, the backup quarterback for Calgary, who, like Obi, is from Montana, and I'd never talked to him before. He says, yeah, I knew Obi a little bit, but my dad knew him better. And I'm like, what's with you guys from Montana? You all talk alike. First down, Garcia. Swings it out of the backfield for Kelvin Anderson. And Anderson gets out to maybe the 41-yard line. A pickup of a couple. I asked Dickinson, what is it when you guys are 3 years old? They pour gravel down your throat, or what's the deal over there? Dickinson said Obi's quite the legend, although he's not quite as familiar with it as his dad and grandpa are. They seem to know more about it. Dave Dickinson has not seen any regular season action for Calgary, but in the preseason was quite impressive. And,
yeah, he actually was the guy who came in and beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the preseason with the last quarter drive.
Second and a bunch now. Flags go down as Garcia runs for his life. Gets away from the first man. Ooh, Garcia takes a shot, and the ball comes loose. And jumping all over it is Winnipeg's Andrew Henry. The Bombers have the football. Now Henry threw the ball at a Calgary player. There's no flag for that, but there is another flag. It's offside Winnipeg. It never happened.
I thought Shante Peoples got quite a start on the top of your screen, and I think he gets flagged.
Winnipeg 56. Second down and 2.
You quarterbacks don't miss a thing.
I'll tell you what, you can see that guy in the corner of your eyes. He was in the backfield before Jeff Garcia completed a 3-step drop, and I think Glenn's got him pegged for you.
Well, players don't like to be circled in this case, but there he is right there, and you're right, David. He does get a little bit of a jump right there, about a half-yard step on the snap count.
While it negates a fumble recovery and good field position for Winnipeg. And Shante may think it's funny. I'm not sure Jeff Reinbold will share his opinion.
He was laughing. He said, I'm just that fast. I wasn't outside.
Garcia now finds Vince Danielson. First down as he gets across midfield and down to the 51-yard line.
Well, this is a bit of a concern, Gord, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the halfback position. And Shannon Garrett with the bad hand. He's got the big cast on him. He missed the tackle last week. He's going to have to come up and try and tackle Danielson on the play. You see that left hand of number 23. Watch him try and use it to make the tackle. Can't do it. Danielson picks up a couple extra yards.
And the key to that play, Gord, is the quick throw from Garcia. He didn't wait. It was there. He popped it right now.
Looks like the head cover on Dave Archer's driver, that thing on Shannon's hand. They give it off to Kelvin Anderson. Oh, my goodness. Shante Peoples and Tyrone Rogers have a little message. And that was, I got in clean that time and legal.
Good job by Tyrone Rogers. He's back in the lineup after missing a couple of weeks. And of course, Winnipeg very happy to have him. And the backside pursuit from Shante Peoples. Here's Peoples. There's Tyrone Rogers. He's going to knife this way. Peoples around the edge. And they're in the backfield before Kelvin Anderson has a chance.
Loss of 3. The Stamps backed up to midfield. Garcia from the shotgun. Here it comes again. They set up the screen for Terry Vaughn. But a great play there by Darnell Small to break up that receiver screen. And Calgary's offense will once again go to the sideline.
Well, these offensive coordinators are certainly sticking with their game plans. Try to get the ball in the guys' hands that we want to win the game with. Terry Vaughn, Kelvin Anderson for Calgary, and obviously Ronald Williams and Milt Stegall on the other side of the ball. We haven't seen much deviation. Move your quarterback around, keep our main guys in the game plan.
Boy, talk about home field advantage. Tony Martino to punt, and as he comes out, the wind has stopped blowing. Wow.
Now, how did Wally do that?
He's connected, man. Tony Martino. Good punt. This is Dexter Dawson from the 10. Dawson waiting for some blocks, finds a seam and gets out to about the 20-yard line. A 45-yard punt and a return of 9. Friday Night Football returns from Calgary in a moment. A Calgary native played his university football here, and he's finally playing his first game as a Calgary Stampeder just in the nick of time. 3 years after they drafted him, John Kalin was a standout at the University of Calgary, a quarterback and safety who played for the team that played in the thrilling Vanier Cup in 1993. Kalin quite often played both ways in games. Now he's back here in Calgary as a safety, a backup in week number 1. Now here's McDougall in trouble, gets away. Now McDougall up and throwing, and it's a one-hopper. He's looking there for Milt Stiegel. William Hampton there on the coverage. I'll tell you what, Kevin McDougall lucky to escape with his life.
A little bit of a stunt by Steve Anderson at the top. He's right here and going to work to the outside. You see the stunt get out there. He has Kevin McDougall dead to rights in the backfield, but this is what's been driving Wally Buono nuts, because that is a chance for Steve Anderson to make a big play for his team in the sack, and he can't hang on to McDougall.
Steve Anderson, who had 4 sacks all of last year, had one just get through his hands there. Now, 2nd and 10 Winnipeg. McDougall, lots of time, and that time they got it. Dwayne Patterson gets his 5th sack of the year, and Patterson, among the league leaders, drops Kevin McDougall, and Winnipeg will be forced to punt.
Dwayne Patterson throughout this season has been the best pass rusher for the Calgary Stampeders, and even early in the year when they were having trouble with consistency up front, Dwayne Patterson was still coming hard every play.
And the left side of that Calgary defense from Washington State, Dwayne Patterson and Anthony McClanahan, both graduates of the Washington State Cougars program. Bob Cameron back to punt. The 43-year-old sends a low driving kick, trying to kick it away from Terry Vaughn. He gets the bounce right at the 47-yard line. Now Vaughn gets very little out to about the 42-yard line. Doug Hawking comes down to make the stop as Vaughn dives ahead. 10:26 to play in the first half. Friday Night Football returns right after this. Getting a lot of heat here in Calgary. We asked Wally Buono to evaluate his QB.
I think Jeff's performance has been good. It's been steady. Obviously, he didn't have a good first half in Montreal, and that was quite evident. But I think he's rebounded very well. I think the big thing that Jeff hasn't gotten from some of the guys around him is the big play. The big play has hurt us because we've not made it. And I think at times we've got some critical penalties that put us in a position where it's just gets too awkward. So if you look at those two things, that really jeopardizes the quarterback's production.
Well, pretty good production there for Jeff Garcia. A 20-yard gain to Vince Danielson, who's rapidly become his favorite receiver.
Well, I think Jeff Garcia's been extremely accurate tonight, too. We saw the Terry Vaughn drop in the end zone in the first quarter. That was a super throw right there in tough coverage. So Garcia's brought his game tonight.
First down Calgary now from the 37-yard line. Garcia going over the top for Vaughn again. And he gets tied up with Brandon Hamilton. Vaughn calling for a flag, but to no avail.
Well, I think that looked a little worse than it was, Gordon. Brandon Hamilton was running with Terry Vaughn from the outside and over top, and I think pretty good position. In fact, the way the ball was thrown by Garcia, I think Brandon Hamilton had a better shot at it than Vaughn did.
That sound you heard was Dave Archer's eyes rolling as Glenn Suter once again came to the defense of a defensive back.
Boy, there's a surprise.
Yeah, score that DB's 25 receivers won in the Glenn Suter scoring category. Now Garcia setting up the screen for Kelvin Anderson, waiting for a block. A flag comes down as Greg Battle makes the stop. Anderson's close to a first down, and we'll see what the penalty is. Kelvin Anderson very close to a Calgary first down, and holding is the call against Calgary. Another costly penalty for the Stamps, and while Calgary isn't the most penalized team in the league, Calgary might lead the league in inopportune penalties.
Yeah, Gordon, they're the third most penalized team, and they're averaging right now about 12 penalties lose the game, and they're at the wrong time. You think back to last week when Jay McNeil on a drive against Saskatchewan, right down in their end of the field, got a rough play penalty, and that bothered Wally Buono.
And this was Wally Buono's comment this week. I'm frustrated because I don't see the penalties as effort. I see them as stupidity.
Well, see, this weighs on a quarterback's mind now because there's nothing worse than a drive stop or a holding penalty.
2nd and 20 now. And that may have put Calgary out of field goal range. Garcia over the top. He's got his man for the moment. Joseph Rogers, what a carry! Oh, what a grab by Joseph Rogers down to the 5. And they thought it was a touchdown here in Calgary. They fired off the fireworks. Pretty good catch, though.
It's a super catch by Joe Rogers. The ball isn't thrown where Garcia wants it to be thrown. Rogers is running a seam route, and the ball's thrown to the outside, and so Joe makes the adjustment. It's a good read by Garcia, good protection. Now the ball should be thrown back to the inside, but watch Rogers adjust back. There's not a tougher catch, and it looked like maybe a face mask at the end of that by Jeff Horton.
As it is, 1st and goal Calgary now from the 5-yard line. Garcia has a man wide open, but it falls incomplete. Looking there to Travis Moore right at the goal line.
Oh, Jeff's going to be kicking himself when he sees the film. Slanty, 3 safeties vacates the middle of the field, and Vince Danielson makes a great read and is wide open in the back of the end zone.
And he was doing a dance, waving his arms for the football, and was definitely frustrated when Garcia couldn't find him.
I'll tell you what, in Calgary, they really did think that was a touchdown. They shot off the fireworks, the horse ran. They're not in yet. 2nd and goal from the 5. Garcia to the end zone. Touchdown! Travis Moore. Refire the fireworks. Recue the horse. Calgary has a major.
Well, they're used to having a lot of fireworks here in Calgary, and this time Garcia gets the ball to Moore. But I'll tell you what, Glenn, they went man coverage across the board, and again, Danielson was open behind coverage in the end zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis Moore was not as open as Danielson was, but fights off the coverage that comes up with the big touchdown.
Travis Moore with his 4th touchdown of the year. He had only 5 in all of last season. And Mark McLaughlin for the point after. It is good, and Calgary regains the lead. 7:23 to play. 16-10 Stampeders.
Take another look at the play of Travis Moore when he sees man-to-man defense. The easy throw for a quarterback, Davis, the inside throw. So when you get man, you want to see a lot of guys coming into the middle. Darnell Small and Chase.
Well, he ends up getting isolated on a linebacker type. Darnell Small is one of those tweeners, as Glenn likes to call him, kind of a strong safety type in U.S. football, but he's no match for Travis Moore.
Well, we talked about a number of key people being missing from the Calgary Stampeder offense, but Travis Moore and Terry Vaughn certainly called upon to fill the holes for the Calgary Stampeders. And by the way, the horse you saw a moment ago is blue. Ricky, the regular horse, almost went the way of the condor a couple of weeks ago. He had 4 hooves in the air after a run. We're told he just has asthma, and they're getting him ready for the Labor Day game against Edmonton. But we were worried he might end up in an Alpo tin there because he was looking pretty sorry there for a while.
You're going to get calls on that one.
They had the pistol on. It was in bad trouble.
When the horse fell down, I thought he just fell asleep because early in the season, there wasn't a lot of Calgary's touchdowns.
And for those of you that are sending mail in, that's Gordon Middler, CSN Toronto.
Care of Dave Archer. Tyrone Montgomery on the kickoff return for the 20-yard line. And Montgomery gets out to about the 30 for Anthony McClanahan. Comes up to make the stop. A 60-yard kickoff, a 14-yard return. Well, we talked about Calgary not being able to drive it more than 60 yards. 58. See, the key is they got to get the ball near midfield to score.
Well, Jeff Reinbold's defense was designed to maybe make them take more plays, take more shots, and trying to get it down the field. Only 6 plays. Those are the kind of plays, that's the kind of drive that Calgary loves to put together.
Now the Bombers start first down at their own 30-yard line. Once once again trailing in this football game was to see the lead seesaw back and forth. McDougall. Lots of time for Kevin McDougall. He wanted Alan Boyko. Now look at the time he's got. Still going, and finally Raymond Biggs gets to him. About the 8th Calgary guy that had a shot at him, and Ray Biggs has the sack.
Well, this is an extremely slow developing play, and the reason is it's a designed roll. They simulate a drop back pass, and then they block down on Marvin Pope and try to get him to the outside. You see right there, Boyko trying to work Marvin Pope, but good coverage in the secondary.
Yeah, and I think that's a play, David, that Kevin McDougall has to pull down and take off. You can't be back there bouncing around like that long, or else he's going to get caught. He should have just taken what he could get on that play.
A loss of 6 now brings up 2nd and 16. McDougall, again, lots of time, has Alan Boyko, who has a first down out to the 44-yard line. And Alan Boyko, with just his 10th catch of the year, has a gain of 21 yards and a Winnipeg first down.
Well, it all starts with the guys up front. He's getting good protection when they're only bringing 4 and 5 people after him. Talking about Kevin McDougall. But the guy that makes his play is Milt Stiegel, flying down through the middle of the field, taking the safety out of there.
First down, Winnipeg. McDougall almost had it intercepted. That was almost taken back for 6 by Kenton Leonard. The pass was intended for Turhan O'Bannon.
And you know what creates that problem, Glenn, is a slot receiver without a lot of experience in this league in Tyrone Montgomery lining up too wide, allowing the halfback to get with him, allowing him to break on that hitch throw.
And that's why you can have one guy cover 2 people. You see them right there, and there is Kenton Leonard able to cover both of them and have a crack at that football. And if he gets that, that's pixies in a dance.
I'll explain that later, Dave. Second down, McDougall for Montgomery. Quick throw and a quick tackle made by Kenton Leonard out to the 51-yard line. If you're not familiar with defensive back terminology, and most people aren't, as a flag came down, pixies in a dance means you intercept the pass, go for a touchdown, and do your dance. Did you ever see Glenn Suter's dance, Dave? He was the only guy that polka'd after a touchdown.
I didn't have any rhythm.
For fear that we will get more mail, I won't comment on that.
Ineligible receiver, Winnipeg 21. Penalties declined, 3rd down.
Tyrone Montgomery was ineligible, which means somebody was lined up on the line of scrimmage outside of him.
Well, once again, he's a slot receiver, so he has to realize he has to be off the ball. So the guy that's lined up outside has to be on the ball. It's Tyrone's responsibility to make sure he's in the backfield at the snap, read the blitz, tried to break off inside, just hugged the line of scrimmage a little too much.
Bob Cameron once again to punt. 5 minutes to go here in the opening half. And a good first half it's been between 2 teams going head-to-head desperately for their 2nd win of the year. Cameron gets a booming kick away. Terry Vaughn back to the 8-yard line. Vaughn beats the first wave, still going, and Terry Vaughn gets out to the 29-yard line before he's finally stopped by Bruce Boyko. Good return for Vaughn, and he takes him back 19 yards. Calgary will have the ball when we come back. Well, Joseph Rogers coming off an outstanding year last year, 21 catches this year for 268 yards. Doesn't have a touchdown yet, but I'll tell you what, he set one up with one of the catches of the year that we saw earlier in this game.
Well, these are the kind of things Joe Rogers can do. He did these things for me last year. He averaged 16 yards of reception last year, only averaging 11 yards of reception this year. Those are the kind of things they need to let Joe Rogers do for him.
With a guy hanging off his face mask, the catch looks even better. Calgary starts at its own 28-yard line. Garcia from the shotgun. And Garcia firing out there for Terry Vaughn. The pass falls incomplete. Dave, Jeff Garcia is a guy who has a reputation for looking outside in, as opposed to most CFL quarterbacks who would look to their slots and then the wide receivers. Garcia looks like he almost does it the other way around.
Which is a bit of a surprise having Doug Flutie here, because Doug throws the ball inside probably better than anybody that's played this game. But I think it's because he's got such a strong arm, and he realizes, especially this season, his #1 guy is probably Terry Vaughn, normally outside.
And Jeff Garcia has 122 yards passing so far and a touchdown. On 2nd and 10, Garcia Looking for Vince Danielson, and Mr. Clutch comes through again after the 43-yard line. A pickup of 15 yards and a Calgary first down. And the Stamps keep the sticks moving.
Vince Danielson probably went back to the huddle and said, listen, I've been open now 4 plays in a row. Can you throw me the football just once? Because that was the 5th one in a row. I've been watching him. He's been open every play.
And a really well-thrown ball. Jeff made a bad throw earlier. The play previous to that, Devon comes right back with a strike to Danielson.
10, Calgary 43.
On first down, they fake the handoff to Anderson. They want to go deep to Rogers. He's got a man all over him. Rogers wants pass interference on Brandon Hamilton, but again, it's Hamilton who comes up with a solid defensive play. And Hamilton did not bite on that fake reverse.
No, you mean defensive backs should always be thinking pass first. They can never make the play on a running play. He's up here at the top of your screen, and here's Rogers just going to run the post pattern, but
I think he got poked in the eye.
he might have got it. He did a little dance at the end there with his right leg in the air. He might have got his foot stepped on.
Second down now for the Stamps, and Garcia to the shotgun. And flags everywhere once again. Shante Peoples, now, just because he's smiling doesn't mean it was against Calgary. He smiled the last time he was offside. But this time it does appear to be against Calgary.
Time count violation. Calgary number 7.
Shante, just one of those happy-go-lucky peoples, I guess.
Well, there's a guy that had 29 sacks in 2 seasons, 94 and 95, and then was out with an injury in 96. Only 1 sack this season, so obviously trying to get a running start, get his totals up.
Now 2nd and 15 for the Stamps, and Garcia again from the shotgun. Lots of time for Garcia. Fires it over the middle. Has his man, and look out, room to run for Travis Moore. Finally forced out of bounds at the 36-yard line. A first down for the Calgary Stampeders. And a gain of 36 yards.
Well, it's a great play by Travis Moore, but I think the Calgary Stampeders may have got away with the holding. Travis Moore is the middle player right here in the formation, going to cut across the field right here. He picks up the ball, runs all the way across the other side of the field. You see Bond turn around, Shannon Garrett right there, and a little bit of a holding call that the officials didn't see.
Big first down for the Calgary Stampeders, who convert a 2nd and 15, and now, with under 3 minutes to play here in the first half, a chance for more points. Here's Kelvin Anderson on first down, and Anderson pulls his way down to about the 30-yard line. That'll bring us to the 3-minute warning. The Calgary Stampeders with a 6-point lead in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You're watching Friday Night Football on TSN.
Friday Night Football on TSN is brought to you in part by Midas for new, longer-lasting carbon metallic brake pads.
I'll tell you what, barbecuing pita bread, what does Calgary come to?
Yeah, give him a break. Maybe they were doing fajitas.
I hope so. Calgary with a 6-point lead on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Last year, they split their 2 meetings. Calgary hammered Winnipeg here at McMahon Stadium, but then a thriller in Winnipeg Stadium won by the Bombers 38-36. Stampeders have won 7 of the last 10, 5 straight here at McMahon Stadium. Jeff Garcia and company have 2nd and 4 from the 30-yard line. Well, early movement. The big chill moved. Big Fred, the biggest Fred.
Yeah, when you get
that right guard.
You get that kind of bulk moving, it's really difficult to stop it.
They say Fred Childress is 310 pounds in the program. Yeah. His shadow weighs 200 pounds. He is the big man. I keep telling Fred he's got to go into a job in broadcasting. That voice of his comes from down near his knees. And it goes through a lot of pipes before he finally gets out of there. 2nd and long now. Garcia from the shotgun. Lots of time and a great catch by Terry Vaughn. First down to the 21-yard line. 2.5 minutes to go in the first half, and Vaughn able to keep the drive alive with his first catch of the game.
Jeff Garcia having some success to that side of the field, and on that side, coverage-wise for Winnipeg, is the newcomer in Jeff Horton and Shannon Garrett with a cast in his arm. So Jeff Garcia is taking some advantage of that side of the football field so far.
Gain of 14 yards, first down Calgary. Garcia again to the shotgun. Here comes the rush. They set up the screen to Terry Vaughn. Vaughn's got room to run. Gone. Touchdown. Terry Vaughn with his 3rd touchdown of the year and a perfectly executed screen.
Just a great mix from the Calgary offense. They're throwing the football downfield. They've got Kelvin Anderson involved running the ball, and now they're throwing the quick screen to Terry Vaughn. But they're keeping their big play people involved in the game. Kelvin Anderson, Terry Vaughn.
Jeff Garcia, 21 yards.
A 21-yard touchdown for Terry Vaughn. And the Stampeders now with a 12-point lead with the point after to come. And the Stampeders put together 2 pretty nifty drives here in the 2nd quarter. McLaughlin puts it up and good. A 13-point Calgary lead.
Well, it was a perfectly executed play by Terry Vaughn and Jeff Garcia to get some help and some blocks to the outside. See Jay McNeil flying out there and Jamie Crysdale. They create a little bit of a bubble for Terry Vaughn to hit it through, and Jeff Horton had to try and fight through 2 offensive linemen to make the tackle and couldn't do it.
Those offensive linemen see DBs out there to block. That's like shrimp at the buffet for them. They'll just throw the tails away and beat up.
Well, when you have an aggressive defense like this, an offensive coordinator always wants to have that quick screen to the outside receiver with the offensive line out in front. When you get down to the scoring zone, defenses normally will become much more aggressive, which lends itself to those kind of plays.
The message from Tony Marciano, the offensive coordinator, to his receivers this week has been, we need more second effort. After you catch that ball, break a tackle. Get open. Keep working to get open and help your quarterback. And I think the message was taken loud and clear because it's happening so far tonight.
Now McLaughlin to kick it off. Dexter Dawson and Tyrone Montgomery to receive. This is Montgomery from the 13-yard line. Montgomery's got good speed and dives out to the 35-yard line. Chris Lewis got a hand on him to trip him up. Well, there's the rare occasion. The Calgary Stampeders go more than 60. Just the 3rd time this year the Stamps have done it. A 7-play, 82-yard drive. Twice the Stamps converted on 2nd and long, including 2nd and 15. And a big catch made by Terry Vaughn to keep the drive alive. And then he caps it off with a touchdown. Bombers get the ball back with under 2 minutes to play now in the first half. And McDougall will work from the shotgun. McDougall, quarterback draw. Here goes Kevin McDougall through the middle of the Calgary defense. He dives out to about the 53-yard line. Was that run all the way, Dave?
It certainly was. They spread the field out. They got Ronald Williams way out wide to the wide side of the field, the normal running back. A run all the way to Kevin McDougall.
A pickup of 18 yards and a Winnipeg first down. And the Bombers now hurrying up with 1:45 and counting to play here in the first half. And the ball snapped right by McDougall. He wasn't expecting it, and McDougall is dropped down quickly. Dwayne Patterson got there. McDougall wasn't even looking as the ball went flying by him. Wow.
Now, is this the quarterback or is this the center?
Oh, yeah, ask the quarterback.
Well,
look at this. McDougall's not even looking.
he's changing the play on the fly and has no idea.
Yeah, I don't know whether Van Conit's watching the 20-second clock or what the story is there, but that ball was snapped before it was supposed to be snapped.
So you're saying center.
Well, McDougall,
There's a surprise.
too. He fell on the ball.
Loss of 17. Now McDougall. Lots of time. Sidearms it out there and hits Alan Boyko. Boyko gets up to the 51-yard line. That's close to the original line of scrimmage, a gain of 15 yards. That's got to be the worst feeling in the world for a quarterback, Dave, running back to corral a bouncing football, knowing there's about 7 guys just dying to tear you off the ball.
Yeah, I've been there and done that. Mike Kislak and I missed a few times. It was my fault more often than it was Mike's, and those aren't fun because, like you say, the offensive line more often than not turns around and says, hey, what the heck's going on? And now I've got about 1,000 pounds bearing down on me.
Third down now for the Bombers, and Bob Cameron will punt. Terry Vaughn and Marvin Coleman back to receive as one of the CFL's most lethal punt return duos goes to work. This is Coleman from the 10. Coleman gets away from the first wave and dives out to the 24-yard line before he's finally brought down. Stop is made there by Wade Miller. A 13-yard return of a 48-yard punt. 1:05 to play in the first half, and Calgary a chance to add some more points as Jeff Garcia, coming off a great performance last week against the Saskatchewan Roughriders when he was deadly accurate, 26 of 37. Tonight he's 12 of 23 for a couple of touchdowns.
You know, he's taking some heat, but right now he's on pace to throw for over 4,800 yards, which would be his best ever year.
First down, Calgary. On first down, they give it off to Kelvin Anderson. Anderson slides out of bounds into the kicking net with Shannon Garrett. A flag came down near the end of the play, and that looks to be holding against Calgary. And Mark McLaughlin's going, he broke my net. Wait a minute, he broke my kicking net. That play a disaster from the beginning because it's now holding against the Stampeders.
Well, Rocco Romano had a big handful of something down there. I don't know if he's going to get flagged on this, but he certainly had Shante Peoples wrapped up.
And so did Terry Vaughn, blocking downfield on Jeff Horton, had his hands on the jersey as well. So it would be interesting to see who they get.
Somewhat obscured by Fred Childress.
Face mask. Calgary number 3. Second down.
Jay McNeil called for a face mask. And that's a pretty significant loss for the Calgary Stampeders, who will now be backed up to the 23-yard line. Let's go to Lisa Bowes.
Hi, guys. Thanks very much. Down here at the Bombers bench. Just wanted to update you on Tyrone Rogers, the defensive lineman for the Bombers. He just has a twisted ankle, guys. Just a twisted ankle, heavily taped, and he is fired up to get back into the game. He's back on the field right now. He missed that last major that the Stampeders scored on, and he was fired up to get back into the game. Guys?
When did we start wearing jean shirts? I never got that memo, did you?
Well, you are the fashion police.
I am the fashion.
Rita, now Lisa Bowes.
18-yard line for the Calgary Stampeders. Look at the room for Garcia. Away he goes. He got a big block there. Terry Vaughn for a great block for Jeff Garcia, who slides out to about the 34-yard line, close to a Calgary first down with under a minute to play in the first half.
Well, Jeff Garcia's rushing numbers and his average have been down a little bit this year, but he has had some timely scrambles, and see the middle open up as Greg Battle got real wide. Garcia sees that, he takes off, and then it's a foot race.
How about Terry Vaughn with the block there on Darnell Small, number 45.
That wasn't the only block on the play, because Tyrone Rogers, who Lisa Bowles just told us was excited to get back in the game, came clean off of Fred Childress, and Kelvin Anderson stepped up and kneecapped him.
Kneecapped him? That doesn't sound like it's very enjoyable. First down, Garcia Swings it out there for Kelvin Anderson. Another good block from Terry Vaughn. And Anderson gets out to the 40-yard line. Terry Vaughn's knocking people down to pick up a 6.
Well, and it's working away from the football. I mean, Terry Vaughn's got some passes tonight, but he's also working when he doesn't get the ball and helping out his teammates. And that's what this team has needed throughout the season to get him going.
Well, they may be trying to show his teammates how to block because he didn't get a lot on punt returns, that's for sure.
Under 30 seconds to play in the first half. Calgary on second down. Garcia has it to Joseph Rogers. Rogers has the first down as he gets out to the Calgary 48-yard line, and the Stampeders now will call timeout with 18 seconds to play in the half.
Purely a possession route this time as they burn the timeout. Purely possession route. Joe Rogers going to sit it down in the zone. Garcia sticks him real quick with the football, and they get the timeout.
When he runs and turns around in that area, he's kind of shaking his hands. For a receiver, you're sitting in there, you know the guys are breaking in on you. You want that ball to get there as quickly as it can.
Well, we had the same route when we were in Ottawa. We would ask Joe to go up the field and take what the defender would give him and sit it down for conversion situations to extend the drive. And Joe would get a little excited, and a lot of times he'd cut that route down from a 10, 12-yard route to 4 or 5-yard route. You're not quite ready to throw it, and he gets a little antsy for the ball to get there.
Win a lot of games in Ottawa, did you, Dave?
Well, that guy caught a lot of balls, and it wasn't by accident he was all CFL.
First down, Stampeders. Garcia unloads it now, and it's incomplete. I think he wanted Vince Danielson, and at the end of that play, Dwayne Knight unloaded on Jeff Garcia. 12 seconds to play in the half.
Dwayne Knight is in charge of covering Dwayne Ford, number 34, but when Dwayne Ford comes down, you see him at the top of your screen to block on George Noga. That allows Dwayne Knight to come free, and he gets the shot right at the end of the play.
Yeah, Big Jake McNeil was trying to get out there and lead his quarterback, but a little mismatch there in speed.
Very diplomatically put, Dave. Second down now for the Stampeders. 12 seconds to go. They give it off through the middle to the fullback, Dwayne Ford. The big man pulls his way close to midfield up to the 53-yard line. 7 seconds to play now in the first half. And big Dwayne Ford with his first carry of the year.
That's a tendency breaker. You know, when you watch tape on Dwayne Ford, he hasn't had the ball, so you don't worry about him as a defense. So Calgary probably does the same thing, looks at their own film and says, we got to give it to him once in a while.
Now the Bombers call timeout to stop it with 7 seconds left as Calgary will be forced to punt.
This is a good idea, too. Let's give Dexter Dawson an opportunity to catch the football and do some things.
Tampa. They're going to run Tampa.
They're going to run Tampa, which means a lot to us. But
keep running until you get to Tampa.
That's right. And he did that last week. Had a 100-yarder called back last week against Hamilton.
He's got kind of the orange shirt on, Jeff Reinbold. Maybe that's the idea. Dawson back to receive the punt from Tony Martino. Martino with a punt that hangs up in the wind, angling it for the sidelines, and it goes out of bounds with 1 second left. It goes out at the 27-yard line. So time for one play for the Bombers to do whatever they might like, but pretty heads-up play by Tony Martino to kick it out of bounds, and I suspect his coach, the former punter for the Montreal Alouettes, Wally Buono, advised him to do just that.
Well, let's face it, this isn't Wally Buono's first rodeo. So he's been in these situations before, and obviously didn't want to give Dexter Dawson an opportunity to do some magic.
Now we've had Pixies in a dance, and this isn't his first rodeo. I'm intrigued by this.
We're in Calgary, home of the greatest rodeo on earth, the Calgary Stampede. Why not talk a little rodeo? I know you don't know anything about that, Gordon. So.
Sundre, Alberta, pal. The paper's called the Roundup. Are you kidding? McDougall on first down. Wants to go deep. Look out, McDougall's in trouble. Now if he can run 80 yards, he can score. And he's tracked down by Anthony McClanahan, but forced out of bounds at the 47-yard line. That'll end the first half. The Calgary Stampeders with 2 second-quarter touchdowns will go to the room with a 23-10 lead. The second half still to come. And Kevin McDougall, the Winnipeg quarterback, shaken up on that play. We'll check his condition, but CFL.
The starter had played really well in Kevin McDougall, and now Vargas comes in coming off a performance last week that he'd like to forget. Gets a good completion to extend the drive, and Called back.
And Joe Palpel can't believe it because that was a screenplay. On a screenplay, you let the defensive lineman go after a 2 count. So that's not one you should get a holding call on.
So Pat Perlis, the offensive line coach, gesturing wildly, and now the sack. Marvin Pope gets in on Vargas with some help from Steve Anderson. You can see that coming on second and a bundle. Calgary sent the house and got it.
Little bit of a stunt from Marvin Pope and Steve Anderson. Pope's going to go inside. Anderson's going to loop around. Good stunt, confuses the front 5 of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Steve Anderson pops free.
Talking with Kevin McDougall before the game, I asked him about the rush of Calgary, and he said that the guy that concerned him the most was Big Daddy Marvin Pope. Even though he only had 1 sack, he felt like he might break through.
Both punters doing very well tonight. It was a loss, by the way, of 7 on the play. Bob Cameron back to his own 10 to punt. Calgary coming after it, and Cameron just gets it away. Terry Vaughn from the 43-yard line. Vaughn gets out to the 51 before the stop is made. Wade Miller got down to make the tackle. 13:03 to play in the third quarter. Calgary up by 13.
Well, they're looking for some leaders on offense to step up and establish some attitude on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Terry Vaughn has taken that to heart and has brought his own attitude to the ballpark tonight.
He's also 100% as a CFL passer, completing his only attempt in 1995. Calgary starts at the 51-yard line. Now Garcia. Going up over the top, he wants Joseph Rogers, and the pass is out of his reach. Brandon Hamilton was with him step for step. Meantime, as all this goes on the Winnipeg sideline, Kevin McDougall is there stretching after jamming his back at the end of the first half.
And it's unfortunate for Kevin and his team because Kevin has been playing a pretty good ball game tonight. You talked about taking the 75-yard throwaway, but you can't. That was part of the play. That was one of the plays that he made, and he played extremely well in the first half. They just didn't have the ball. Calgary has out-executed them on both sides of the ball.
Now 2nd and 10 Stampeders, and Garcia to the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. Garcia once again goes up over the top. Joseph Rogers battling there for the ball with Shannon Garrett. And Garrett, who has only one good hand, was able to get that hand on the ball and knock it away.
Only has one good hand, but he used it to the best of his ability on this play to get that ball out of there. He has a couple interceptions on the season. In 23, he's going to go up over the top and knock this one down. Rogers runs the corner route just to the right of your screen. Watch Shannon Garrett time it up. Get that good hand right on the football and knock it through.
Tony Martino is back to punt. Dexter Dawson is the lone man back to receive. 11 men up on the line of scrimmage for Winnipeg. Martino gets a good kick away. This is Dawson from the 10. Dawson trying to get outside, forced back in. Roger Reinson got the first contact on him. Chris Lewis came down to finish it off. A 49-yard punt and a return of 3. He's the best case for give me the football. 4 carries for 26 yards. He's averaging better than 6 yards a carry. Dave Archie, you're saying give him the ball.
He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. He's caught a couple of passes. Get him the ball. Just get him the ball. That's all he's asking.
Bombers now start at their own 13-yard line. Vargas stays in from the shotgun. Over the middle he goes. The pass in behind Ron Williams, who looks somewhat confused. Ray Biggs was there on the coverage. In fact, almost had the interception.
Well, it's an over and under route, and Ronald Williams is going over the top of Tyrone Montgomery coming underneath. And Montgomery was the primary target there. Vargas threw it to the wrong guy here. As you see, Ronald Williams is just clearing through, trying to take the backer, which he does. Biggs with him, and Tyrone Montgomery is coming back the other direction. He was the guy that I think they wanted to get the ball there to.
Now 2nd down, and Vargas will line up under center. Here comes the blitz. Vargas, lots of time, slings it out there, almost intercepted, and now it is. Picked off by Darryl Hall. William Hampton got a hand on it. There is a flag down on the play. Darryl Hall has the interception. But will it stand? Face mask is the call against Winnipeg. So not only will it stand, it'll be outstanding field position for Calgary.
This is a classic example of the pattern that's being run by the receivers not matching. As you saw the face mask go, not matching the quarterback's drop. This is a drop and roll for Chris Vargas. Going to drop straight back, going to simulate drop back, not going to spin out. The wide receiver Boyko's already out of his route, allowing the defensive back to break on the football. Hampton breaks on it, tips it out, and Darrell Hall's there for the classic tip drill, Glenn.
William Hampton has been a great addition, replacing Al Jordan, who's been injured. He's leading the team in knockdowns, and that's a huge one. Darrell Hall comes up with the football.
The face masking penalty against Milt Stegall sends Calgary down to the 13-yard line. Garcia swings it out for Kelvin Anderson. Great battle with him step for step. Gets some help on the play. As jumping up from the corner spot was Jeff Horton. And the gain was a couple. Chris Vargas has now thrown 6 interceptions in the last 2 games. And this one could cost Winnipeg dearly.
I really believe that the depth of the route outside by Boyko didn't allow Vargas to complete the pass. There's something was mixed up there. Either Vargas took too much time in his drop and roll, or the route was the improper depth.
Second down, 12, 16.
Actually, a loss of a couple on that last play, so it's now 2nd and 12. Garcia from the shotgun. Garcia will take off and run. Has some room, gets down to the 6. That'll leave him a couple of yards short of a Calgary first down. He dropped the football, but they say he was down to the play. Now Wally Buono will decide what to do on 2nd and a couple.
Well, the seams can open up for Garcia because there's only 4 rushmen for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and 5 up front. You see the lane, but now did he fumble the football?
No. In a word, no.
I agree. He's on his back, and then the ball came out.
Boy, that was hard for him to say. He really had to spit that one out, didn't he, Dave?
I'll tell you what, the old trip to the dentist there.
Fans didn't like Wally Buono sending the field goal unit out. Mark McLaughlin will try this one, a little more than a point after. It's a 13-yard field goal try.
13 yards.
McLaughlin is perfect on the night. So McLaughlin slides it through. Calgary off the Darrell Hall interception gets 3 and now has a 16-point lead. Will we see Kevin McDougall? The answer when we come back. Beautiful August night in Calgary. The Stampeders with a 16-point lead on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We saw Kevin McDougall earlier. It looks like Chris Vargas will come in after the Calgary kickoff, coming off an interception on his last offensive play as they continue to stretch out Kevin McDougall on the Winnipeg sideline. Mark McLaughlin sends it deep. Dexter Dawson from the 11-yard line. Winnipeg looking for a big special teams play here, but J.P. Escuerdo forces him back in, and the Calgary pursuit catches up. Dexter Dawson gets out there. Chris Lewis stops his return at 23 as Chris Vargas comes back out, and they have a lot of ingredients into some interceptions.
Well, this is certainly a timing play. Vargas either takes too much time to do his drop and roll, or Boyko doesn't run deep enough on the route, because the timing is obviously screwed up because Hampton's there running around just as good as Boyko is.
Bombers down by 16 as the crowd gets into it here. Vargas from the shotgun on the quarterback draw. And Chris Vargas gets out to the 42-yard line. A gain of 7 yards.
No slight against Chris Vargas, but in his 3-year career, he's only rushed the football 18 times, and that play doesn't look quite the same when 16 does it, as opposed to number 50, Kevin McDougall.
Second and short. Vargas has that pass tipped by Anthony McClanahan. It appears the line of scrimmage. Now a flag comes down at the end of the play. It looked like Stacey Evans, number 99, got tied up with someone down there. And we'll see what the call is.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Winnipeg 57. After the play, 3rd down.
Brett McNeil is called. He looks like such a nice, quiet guy. I can't imagine what he might have done.
Much frustration on the offensive line. They know they have a good running back. They have established good running games in the past. They don't seem to have the running game going right now. For whatever reason, they're not using it. And the ball gets tipped. There's been some jousting going on between the two lines throughout the game.
Jeff Reinbold and Pat Burles just sat Jay McNeil down. That's what you call putting your own agenda above the team, and it costs him.
Bob Cameron with the deep kick. This is Terry Vaughn as flags come down, and Vaughn gets out to about the 47-yard line. No yards will be the call against Winnipeg. We talked about it earlier this week. The Calgary Stampeders had a closed-door, players-only meeting, a sure sign that a team is in some distress. But Rocco Romano says it was more of a pep rally, no finger-pointing. Just wanted to keep everyone's confidence up. And one thing the Stampeders have talked about, despite the fact that they're at 1-4, that players remain confident. In fact, coming to practice yesterday, you wouldn't know what this team's record was. Calgary seemed very loose, positive, and upbeat.
And when you have a guy like Rocco Romano running the meeting, 4-time All-Canadian, people listen.
I'll tell you what, if you do have one of those closed-door meetings, you better come out and play the next week, or people aren't going to buy the closed-door meeting thing.
I think no one keeps the stat, but I don't think anyone's ever had 4 closed-door meetings in a year and made the playoffs.
No.
I think that's sort of...
If you've had 4, you're in trouble.
That's the over-under line for closed-door meetings. With the penalty, Calgary with good field position. Give goes off to Kelvin Anderson, who cracks the 50 down about the 49-yard line for a gain of 3. And Dave, any closed-door players-only meetings in Ottawa last year?
Yeah, but they were more to discuss whether we were actually going to receive any payment for our services.
There we are. Friday night football here. My concession to age. Can't quite see as far as I used to.
That's not your only concession.
Yeah, I sit down through the whole game now, so I used to stand for the whole game. Got to get back on the stage. Oh, there he goes. All right, well, we better.
I just wanted to show you I was taller than Gordon.
We better get up. Your suits isn't getting up. Jeff Garcia on second down now. Throws it underneath, and there's Dwayne Ford. And the big fullback gets down to the 32-yard line, and Dwayne Ford now with his 5th catch of the year in the same game in which he had his first carry of the year. And now Dwayne's going to need a rest. I think he's shaking up.
Well, he must. Last season, all year, he only made 6 receptions. He's already at 5, so he must be tired.
And he's not going out. He says, get those trainers off the field, man.
If you're throwing me the rock, I'm staying in.
If it's going to be like this, man, you'll need a toe tag to get me off the field. I'm not leaving. We got the first down to the 32-yard line. Garcia on play action. Look out. Garcia gets away from the first wave, but Tyrone Rogers runs him down and drops him at the 30-yard line. Good job by Tyrone Rogers to stay with the Calgary quarterback.
In this situation, this is and Glenn, you can talk about this a little bit. This is a situation where a defense really has to guard. Your offense isn't playing very well. Have to guard against maybe some complacency on defense. You come in, you made some stops. As you watch Tyrone Rogers tirelessly stay after Jeff Garcia here and come up with a tackle. There's a guy that missed a couple of games and still has 5 sacks to lead the league.
Garcia managed to gain a couple now on 2nd and 8. Fires it over the middle, and he has his man, Travis Moore. Should be another first down as he finds his way to the 21-yard line. Jeff Garcia on 2nd and long has been something else tonight.
Well, he gets hit hard by George Noga from the top of your screen. You're going to see him come in from the top, number 50 right here. He hits Garcia as he throws the ball, but Garcia looks calm and confident, steps up there, takes the hit, and delivers the pass.
But going back to what I was talking about, Glenn, and the defense having to guard against some complacency at this point, not getting what they want from their offense, and they've made a couple of stops in this game, and they made a couple of stops last week in bad situations. The defense has to guard against maybe just throwing in the towel at this point.
Well, and you start to get tired, you're right, it starts to wear on you, you start to lose confidence a little bit, your head starts to drop, and you wonder, are we ever going to get some points out of this and get back in this football game? So you're right, it can start to wear on you as the game goes on.
It's a first down now from the Winnipeg 21-yard line. Garcia wants to go to the end zone to Travis Moore. Here it goes. Moore up and can't make the catch. He was working on Shannon Garrett as Garcia waited for Travis Moore and just couldn't get him the ball open.
Well, same situation as they had earlier in the game when Vaughn catches the touchdown pass on the flanker screen. This time Garcia's going to fake the flanker screen. But you see Scribner coming from the left side. Just nothing there for Garcia.
Boy, Garcia's taken some hits after he throws the football, and Calgary can hang on and win this game. They won't hurt quite as much tomorrow.
Big defensive play now for Winnipeg to try to hold the Bombers in the game. The defense digs in on 2nd and 10. Garcia. Lots of time. Has Terry Vaughn. Vaughn's got a first down inside the 10. He gets down to the 7-yard line. Terry Vaughn again. Jeff Garcia again.
Terry Vaughn is running his patterns as hard as I've seen him run all year. He's at the top of your screen and he's going to work to the middle of the field. A little bit of an in cut. Danielson and Joseph Rogers going to clear out for him deep. He comes underneath the zone, runs hard, comes back to the football.
A gain of 13 yards. 1st and goal, Calgary now from the 8. Garcia, quarterback draw, touchdown. The job done up front, and Jeff Garcia has his 3rd rushing touchdown of the year.
Well, this is an adjustment they made at halftime. They saw that when they'd been down in the red zone, that the middle of the field had been open. Instead of bringing receiver in this time, they split the field with their receivers and let Garcia do it himself.
You're going to see it open up, and basically what Jeff Garcia sees, the seam right to the right. You're right, Dave. There's no one in the middle as you see Andrew Henry coming late from way outside the hash mark. Can't get there in time.
Mark McLaughlin puts it up and through. I'll tell you what, Jeff Garcia just threw an 80-yard pass in celebration. He fired that ball over the crowd and put it about 10 rows from the upper deck.
Well, he asked the crowd to be patient with this offense and patient with him personally, so maybe that was his way of saying thanks for doing that. Throws it up there.
Well, they're celebrating in Calgary, and there hasn't been a lot to celebrate, but it's like the Kentucky Derby down by the Winnipeg bench tonight.
Yeah, Blue's doing Ricky proud right now. He's running up and down the sidelines, but this has been a game. This has been a game where Calgary's had an awakening, and I don't know whether it was the meeting or what, but they have executed on both sides of the football. You see the blocking up front, textbook. Of course, Garcia knows that he's going to have to run through the safety to score, but everything they've done has been by design. They've mixed things up, and you see Garcia going to give the ball to the big guy.
That ball's flat now.
That's why Garcia threw it in the stands and said, well, we can't use this one anymore.
Got him oblong now, the wrong way. So Big Rocco puts a dent in the turf, and Jeff Garcia puts a dent in the scoreboard. 33-10 now. Calgary leads. And a familiar pattern unfolding in Calgary as the Stamps are dropping the bomb on Winnipeg. McLaughlin now kicks it deep to Dexter Dawson from the 12. Dawson goes right up the middle. Anthony McClanahan, who led the Canadian Football League in special teams tackles a year ago, comes up and makes the stop at the 34-yard line. Well, the scoring drive, 7 plays, 52 yards, and the big men, Chris Burns, Rocco Romano, and others got the job done as Garcia goes in from 8 yards out. But the story again on that drive, Dave, conversions on 2nd and long, which Garcia did a number of times again on that drive.
You like to stay out of those situations, but if you get him, he's making the plays. Vaughn and Danielson and the people are making plays for him.
Bombers start now at their own 34-yard line. Under 4 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter. This is Ronald Williams. Big Daddy Marvin Pope stops him after a gain of 3. I'll tell you what, Marvin Pope is the least likely looking great athlete you'll ever see. He's hopelessly pigeon-toed. He's knock-kneed, and yet the Stampeder players say he is maybe the best pure athlete on the team. And now they send it up to Tyrone Montgomery, and another pretty good athlete, Marvin Coleman, comes up to stick him where he stood.
Well, unbelievably, Marvin Coleman is 4th in the CFL in tackles. That really bode well for your defense if your cornerback is your top tackler, but he had 7 hits last week.
And I don't think for Marvin Coleman, I mean, if it's a defensive back, sometimes making all those tackles, you could say he was being picked on, but in Marvin Coleman's situation, it's not. He just gets involved and comes up and supports on the run as well.
Bob Cameron back to punt as Terry Vaughn is back deep to receive this punt. 3 minutes to go now in the 3rd quarter. Cameron with a good high kick. Vaughn from the 28-yard line. Vaughn gets tripped up and gets out to about the 35-yard line. Well, one thing the Calgary Stampeders don't have a lot of this year is experience, averaging just 4.3 years on offense, under 4 years per player on defense. And Lisa Bose has more on that from the sideline.
Thanks very much, Gord. Yes, Stu Laird, after 13 seasons in the league, hung him up earlier this year, but he's still very much involved in the game. Writes a column for the Calgary Herald once a week, vice president of the CFLPA. And now we're going to ask you to give David Archer and Glenn Suter a run for their money, do a little analysis for us. The defensive line, your assessment of how they've done. A lot of new faces more.
The last few games, they've really picked up their place since Steve Anderson's been inserted in the lineup, and I think they'll just pick it up from here. And the reason why I'm able to write a column is because if those guys upstairs can be analysts after playing, I can at least be a journalist.
Well, you know, I'm at the Canada Games next week in Brandon, so I will miss the game against Toronto. So are you available for sidelines?
You tell them I'm available down here. I can get the inside scoop. Probably can't do it like they could.
Thanks very much, Stu. All righty. Guys.
Well, there goes the idea that defensive linemen can't read.
I'd be willing to bet that Stu Laird can get just about anything he wants on the sideline.
Yeah, Stu had the big notepad yesterday in the pen. He walked right into the trainer's room yesterday. I said, Stu, the media isn't allowed in there. He says, I'm not the media. He had an exclusive interview with Anthony McClanahan this week. Oh, yeah, Stu's on fire here. Meantime, Ronald Williams is down on the field, shaken up on that last play. And they're checking his back as well. So he, like Kevin McDougall, appears to have been hurt in the lower back.
Well, and this is something about the CFL. In this league, your starters play on special teams. In the other league in the States, their starters go out and they bring in other people to play the special teams. That's why this league's so special. A lot of these guys are playing a tremendous amount of plays, and I know you played a lot of special teams, Glenn. It really lends itself to some problems as far as depth goes.
Every one of them for 8 years. Covering kicks.
Well, not every one of them.
And it does. I mean, you play on special teams, and that's usually where you get hurt, because that's where the legs are flying around, and that's really just a barroom brawl from start to finish on special teams. This is where Ronald Williams, see 25 there, go down hard on the turf, hit his knee on it.
And that's the second leading rusher in this league right there, going down on a punt to make a tackle. That tells you what kind of athletes are in this league.
Stampeders start now from their own 35-yard line with a 23-point lead. Garcia from the shotgun. Lots of time and lots of room to run. And Garcia tripped up hard. Down he goes at the 42-yard line. Jeff Garcia shaken up as it looked like Jeff Horton got a hand on him. And you can hear Garcia hit the turf from here.
I'll tell you what, Terry Vaughn is a heat-seeking missile for number 34, Greg Battle, on defense. Watch Vaughn flash in your picture. Right there.
Oh. Well, Tyler Garcia
took a shot.
Hit the turf hard and hit his right shoulder, his throwing shoulder, on the turf.
He certainly is being protected by little number 2 out there, that's for sure.
He might get to eat with the piggies this week. He'll get to go for dinner with the hogs. Second down, Garcia fires it up there for Joseph Rogers, and Rogers has the catch up on the 46-yard line. Another circus catch by Joseph Rogers.
This is Joe running that option route, Glenn, and he's got to get rid of it quick.
Oh, wait a minute, wrong guy. Let me sharpen my pencil. There we go. That's the guy. Just for the record, that was my circle, not David Archer's.
Okay. I'll mark that down. Let's see. That's Glenn's wrong circle. Okay. Now Garcia on first down, steps up and fires it deep for Terry Vaughn. And Vaughn was battling down there with defensive back Brandon Hamilton. In fact, if anyone interfered with anyone, it was Terry Vaughn.
Last series in that 7-play drive, Jeff Garcia, I think, got hit on every single one of those 7 plays. And on this play, he gets cranked by George Noga and Darnell Small after he throws the football. This is the end of the play where Brandon Hamilton tries to go up and intercept it, and Terry Vaughn becomes defensive back. But watch the hit. Shante Peoples and Darnell Small. Woo!
Dave Archer still wincing up here. Dave feels those still. Garcia on second down now, tries the other side. Delivers it underneath for Vince Danielson, who has the catch up at the 52-yard line, but he'll be well short of a Calgary first down. And Jeff Garcia will be heading to the sidelines for some ice, no doubt, after another rough series. But look at how he's moved the ball around. He's completed a total of 18 passes. No one has more than 5, and none of these guys have less than 3, and that's the way to keep everyone happy.
Well, as a quarterback, you're the conductor of the orchestra, and you got to get everybody involved, and that's exactly what he's done. He's taken a knee on the sideline because that last pop didn't feel good, but Garcia's a tough kid. He'll be back in there, but he's really gotten people involved. He talked about that a couple weeks ago, getting everybody involved.
Conductors rarely get hit in the mouth, though. Something that happens to them very seldom. Martino to punt. Wants to keep it away from Dexter Dawson, who sees it bounce down at the 20 and past him to the goal line. Now Dawson in deep trouble, and Roger Reinson trips him up at the 4. It's a 51-yard punt and a return of 2.
Roger Reinson leads the Calgary Stampeders in special teams tackle, and what a huge one there. And this is what happens if you let a punt hit the turf, because Dexter Dawson can't get underneath and catch it in the air. Once it starts bouncing around, you lose a ton of field position. Dawson picks it up, and with C31 with guys around him comes up with the tackle.
Roger Reinson began that play. He's the long snapper for the Calgary Stampeders and hustled down to make the stop. Now stays in at safety. First down Bombers as Vargas remains in there. Firing it ahead for Milt Stegall. The pass just out of his reach. William Hampton there on the coverage. Well, there's been a lot of talk here in Calgary this week about the safety position for the Stampeders. Roger Reinson, a graduate of the University of Calgary, getting a chance to play now, but they, of course, acquired John Kalin this week as well, trading Ray Bernard to get him, and all this happened because Greg Knox is out of the lineup for the season with a torn Achilles tendon. Happened here against Saskatchewan and happened on this play right here. He went down right there. Meantime, back to the live action. Chris Vargas up and throwing over the middle once again, and incomplete once again for Milt Stegall. 2 and out for the Bombers, and that's the final play of the third quarter. The Calgary Stampeders add to their lead, 33-10 with the fourth quarter to come. Stand by now as we get back to Friday Night Football Control. Welcome back to Calgary. The fourth quarter begins with the Bombers hemmed in deep in their own end, facing third down. Bob Cameron in the end zone to punt. Will the Bombers give up 2 here, or will they kick it away to Terry Vaughn and Marvin Coleman, who would start in field goal range? Cameron kicks it away. Vaughn from the 47-yard line. Terry Vaughn finds a seam and gets down to the 35-yard line. So a pretty good kick by Cameron and pretty good coverage, and yet Calgary starts at the Winnipeg 35-yard line. Well, the numbers through 3 quarters tell the story. 385 net yards for Calgary. Time of possession's big. How about this for Chris Vargas? He's 1 for 6 passing for 1 yard. The Bombers did not get a first down in the third quarter.
Well, the time of possession reflects both sides of the ball, too, because the defense is playing extremely well. 3 2-and-outs the last 3 series.
And the Winnipeg defense has got to be getting tired by now after spending a long time on the field. From the 35-yard line, fake to Kelvin Anderson. Garcia wants anyone to go deep, but now steps out of bounds on the 33-yard line. He wanted Terry Vaughn to get going deep, but Vaughn was coming back towards the quarterback. So it's a gain of 2 for Garcia. Well, more football coming your way tomorrow from Iverwood Stadium in Hamilton. The BC Lions and the Hamilton Ticats, 12:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. The pregame coverage starts, and will Corey Philpott get on track for BC? It's been a slow start to the season for him.
Second down will be 8 for the Stampeders, number 33.
Calgary Stampeders off to a slow start this season, but doing something about erasing that with a big lead here. Kelvin Anderson with the carry. Anderson fights his way inside the 25-yard line. He'll have a first down as he gets down to the 22-yard line of the Bombers.
Now you're starting to see some missed tackles on defense, Glenn, and they've been on the field the whole second half. How's that affect you as a defender?
Oh, well, you start to get tired, David. You start to get a little bit depressed as well. You're down the football game, and we talked about Winnipeg's offense going 2 and out. These guys have been out there all game long, and that's when you get your head down and miss tackles like they did on that last play.
Game was 9. You see Glenn Scrivener, who played only 1 game all of last year for Edmonton after suffering a knee injury. Now Garcia looking there for Vince Danielson. He's got it down to the 13-yard line. Should be another Calgary first down. Jeff Garcia is throwing darts tonight, David.
This is as accurate as I've seen Jeff play this season. I think that this is going to be a breakout game for him. This is really going to put him over the top.
You know, and I think what I like about Jeff Garcia tonight as well is the amount of times he stood in there and taken a hit. Now, he does it on this play, but he has really paid the price to win tonight.
It is a first down for the Stampeders to the 13-yard line. Garcia gives it off to Kelvin Anderson on the draw, and Dwayne Knight almost took the handoff.
Yeah, he could have easily given this to Dwayne Knight, but it wouldn't have been a positive play for Calgary. But Knight, obviously on a run blitz, stunts straight through the middle of the hole and makes the play on Kelvin Anderson.
This is what you call reading the mail. Dwayne Knight's got the piece of the playbook here. He sees it, comes right up the middle, and
Poor Kelvin Anderson.
6 yards in the backfield.
The loss was 5. It's 2nd and 15. Calgary with a 23-point lead. Garcia going to the end zone. Almost a great catch by Danielson. Interference as the flag goes down on Shannon Garrett. And Shannon Garrett can't believe it. The man with one good hand gets called for having a hand in there.
Well, I don't think it, I mean, from my angle, it didn't look like a very good call. Because you see the left hand of Shannon Garrett. He couldn't have grabbed on with that hand, and with the right one, he waved at the ball. So I don't know how he could have grabbed. Here he is here working on Danielson. Now, he goes down the field, turns and runs with him. He can't grab him with that left hand. So how is he getting the penalty here? He looks back to the football, he waves at it, and he can't be grabbing it.
Yeah, but he looked back late, Glenn, and I'm going to have to disagree with you on this. Obviously, the offensive, defensive thing. At the end of the play, I thought the pass interference was before the deflection.
1st and goal. Give it off through the middle. Touchdown. Farrell Duclair goes in from a yard out, and there are flags on the play. Offside is the call against Winnipeg. The touchdown for Farrell Duclair will stand, and Duclair has just his 3rd CFL touchdown in his 2nd season. Duclair, the 1st-round pick of the Calgary Stampeders 1 year ago, barrels in. And so now McLaughlin for the point after. With this to come, make it 40, and the Calgary Stampeders are putting on some kind of show tonight. As Farrell Duclair punches it in from a yard out, Friday Night Football returns after this. To Calgary, the Stampeders breaking out of a prolonged offensive slump, now with a 40-10 lead on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. McLaughlin to kick it off. This is Tyrone Montgomery from the 15-yard line. Montgomery Gets out to the 39-yard line before he is finally tripped up on the play by Eddie Davis. Well, the key play on that last touchdown drive was pass interference on Shannon Garrett. And Dave Archer thinks it was a penalty. Glenn Suter thinks it wasn't. Let's have a look.
Well, I think the call is made improperly here, Glenn, but you'll see the ball come into your screen at the top, and I'll let you know when the grab is. Right now's the grab. Here's the ball. There's the football right there. But the penalty didn't come till late, Glenn.
Well, see, that was a little hand fighting, and I agree there might have been a little hand fighting early, but the flag comes out after that, and it's a bad call in my opinion.
Kevin McDougall back into the game for Winnipeg, screens it off for Tyrone Montgomery. What a job by Marvin Coleman to stop that one, because if Montgomery gets outside there, he is gone.
Well, this has been an aggressive Calgary defense. It's been throwing some hits, and Montgomery is a speedster, but you slow down a little bit when you've been hit. He can't get outside and get tackled by Marvin Coleman.
Kevin McDougall comes back into the game for the Bombers, and the situation much different than when he left. McDougall over the middle has Turhan O'Bannon. That's his first catch of the game as he gets close to midfield to the 54-yard line. It'll be a first down for Winnipeg.
You see the one difference there with Kevin McDougall back in the game. He had lots of time on that play. When your defensive line and Kevin McDougall's back there, you have to control your rush a little bit more. Vargas was under tremendous pressure. McDougall won't be, because he can take off and run it.
That was Winnipeg's first down of the second half. Now McDougall to run. Close to another first down as he slides into Calgary territory and down to the 47-yard line. He replaces Chris Vargas, who was 1 for 6 passing for 1 yard and an interception. This is how McDougall did in the first half. He was injured on the final play of the half. He was 6 for 10 for 128 yards, a 75-yard touchdown to Milt Stegall as Vargas looks on from the sideline. Now McDougall dumps it off on the screen to Ronald Williams. And Williams should have a first down as he gets down to the 45-yard line. Two guys with bad backs getting together for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Ronald Williams was shaken up as well, and now we'll head off the field again.
McDougall has the team in the no-huddle offense as he's a player down for Winnipeg. Can't see the number. Oh, it's Ronald Williams, I'm sorry.
Ronald Williams shaken up again with the bad back. For more on that, let's go to Lisa Bowes.
Thanks very much, Gord. I was just over at the bench there, and actually before he came on for this series, Williams was pacing up and down the sidelines, holding the small of his back, and it was obviously giving him a lot of discomfort. So I was actually surprised to see him come back into the game, and as you can see, it's clearly still bothering him. Guys?
The replacement for Ron Williams, Jeff Reinbold, is going to have to put Dexter Dawson in the backfield. He's sort of utility man for Jeff Reinbold, plays some defense, return man, and receiver and running back.
Now, this is a guy, Dave, you'd like to see more involved in the Winnipeg offense, and the Bombers would too, but it's a matter of time for him. He plays defense, he plays special teams, and there's just not enough time in the day to get him involved in the offense. 9:24 to play in the fourth quarter. Friday Night Football continues from Calgary after this.
55,000 yards in this league. He knows how to get it down the field.
Meantime, the Bombers here have it 1st and 10 at the Calgary 45-yard line. Kevin McDougall back in at quarterback. Floats one out there for Alan Boyko, and Boyko should have a first down as he gets down to the 35-yard line. Alan Boyko moved out to wide receiver this week as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had to shake up their lineups this week with some injuries, and they also released Ted Alford, who's been their starting wide receiver for the first 5 games of the season. Is Jeff Reinbold in trouble in Winnipeg? And there's been some talk about that in the last couple of weeks.
We got to find out whether he can play.
I don't think so. I think that they've had a lot of turnover in faces, and he's trying to put together a good program. I think the players will play hard for him. It's just a matter of getting everything together. I know that the fans are going to be a little disgruntled with the record simply because of what Cal Murphy was able to do as a head coach there. But this guy is going to win in this league. He just needs to be given time to get his game together.
I think he's good for the CFL. I mean, here's a young guy with new ideas that, you know, likes to, he doesn't mind if he's mic'd for TV.
What are we doing? Get him out of the huddle!
A little bit boisterous at times. But he's good for the league. Get some new blood.
2nd and 10, McDougall throws it underneath for Bruce Boyko. So the brothers Boyko making catches, and Boyko lost the ball that time. Calgary saying the fumble came out, but Boyko is ruled down on the play. Bruce Boyko with his 12th catch of the year, a veteran with Saskatchewan.
Well, it's interesting. Bruce Boyko is usually a blocking guy, but he's had more catches than his brother, Alan Boyko. So you know those two are bugging each other about that.
Third down. Out to the sideline they go, and Turhan O'Bannon makes the catch for a first down at the 20, and O'Bannon knows all about famous relatives. His half-brother is Ed O'Bannon of the New Jersey Nets.
And Charles O'Bannon. Both of them played at UCLA, won a national championship. Pretty good basketball players, but neither one of them can throw the out like that. That was a dart.
From the 20, McDougall finds Alan Boyko. Boyko with the catch gets down to the 5-yard line. 7.5 minutes left here in the fourth quarter, and Winnipeg finally getting something done offensively.
Well, certainly the aggressiveness isn't there now out of the defense because of the score, but I think Kevin McDougall has played a heck of a ball game. He was limited because of the injury, but he's directed this offense extremely well tonight for Winnipeg.
Gord, put the horn down.
I know. First and goal. McDougall wants to go to the end zone. It falls incomplete. Alan Boyko may have been the intended target, but he was tripped up. Tyrone Montgomery laid out for it, but the pass fell incomplete. By the way, if I was commissioner of the league for a day, I'd ban those horns. You know those ones that go, I'd ban those things.
That's the contribution you'd make if you were commissioner.
Yeah, that's great.
That would
wow.
be
Well,
by the way, that was a good horn impersonation.
Thank you. Now second and goal from the 5. McDougall, lots of time, can't find anyone open. Now he rolls out to the end zone. He goes, touchdown. He gets it up there to Turhan O'Bannon, who had 2 touchdown catches last week, and now he's got one tonight. The Bombers talking about going for 2 here as they're down 40-16.
Oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. You go for 2, absolutely. But I can't believe the time that Kevin McDougall had, and I think he was surprised. He was wondering what happened to that pass rush. Look at him stand there. He just finally just stops, stands there, walks out here. I mean, he has all day to find Dexter Dawson.
and it's a good throw and a great job by Turhan O'Bannon. The offensive line obviously did a good job, but if you watch that replay, there wasn't a lot of aggressiveness on the defensive line. It didn't look, that was probably the most lackadaisical series of plays for the defense from Calgary. Looked like they kind of rolled their hat on the field for that series. I didn't see anybody getting real aggressive, and Marvin Coleman just rolled their hat out there and expecting the hat to scare him off, and it didn't get it done.
By the way, my apologies to Turhan O'Bannon, who got that touchdown.
I know, Glenn, you just look at the receivers as generic. Yeah. The two-point conversion try. McDougall looking for Tyrone Montgomery. That's incomplete, so the score will stay at 40-16 with 6:20 to go in the fourth quarter. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers haven't won here since '91. Is this too little, too late? We've still got 6:20 to go in the fourth. Mr. Floyd?
Yeah, your knees get that stiff, but you never get the club back in that hitting position like he does.
The kickoff taken by Terry Vaughn, who sees it roll into the end zone. He'll bring it out. And Vaughn gets out to about the 16-yard line before he's finally stopped on the play. Chesley Perrin gets down to help make the stop. Well, the Bombers finally get something done on offense. They go 11 plays, 72 yards, and Turhan O'Bannon with the 5-yard touchdown catch, his third touchdown in 2 weeks.
And after that series, Wally Buono on the sideline was livid about his defensive lack of pass rush from his defensive line.
Meantime, down on the play for Winnipeg is Darnell Small. Hey, we want to be on Sports Text. Well, I can't make any promises, but I'll put a word in for you. Darnell Small, meantime, is down on the field, a backup linebacker for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Injured on that special teams play. And we will have a new quarterback into the game for the Calgary Stampeders. And we'll get our first regular season look at Dave Dickinson, the long-anticipated CFL debut, as Jeff Garcia goes to the sidelines. Dave Dickinson, 27-3 as a starter in college at Montana, was on the practice roster all of last year. And these were his numbers in the preseason. But what an impressive career he had at Montana. He passed for 11,000 yards in his career. 96 touchdowns, 26 interceptions. He threw a touchdown pass for 4 touchdown passes rather for every interception he threw in college.
The 95 Walter Payton Award winner, the Heisman Trophy for Division I AA. Last week, we saw Archie Amerson, the talented running back, young running back for Hamilton, who won that award last year. So 2 weeks in a row, we see the Division I AA Walter Payton Award winner.
And that glistening sound you hear is Bob Obilovich, a graduate of Montana, watching from the studio in Toronto saying, "That guy went to Montana. I like that guy." As Darnell Small makes his way off the field. And we'll see if we can find out what happened to him on that kickoff return. There he is, and just hyperextended his arm. Dave Dickinson now from the 16-yard line. His first regular season play. And he's going to throw. Complete. He's got it there to Terry Vaughn. And Terry Vaughn's got it up to the 35-yard line. His first Canadian Football League pass is good for an 18-yard gain.
What a nice call for Dave Dickinson to come in on, too. Obviously, the sideline makes his call, but it's a play-action fake, and he throws outside to Terry Vaughn.
See, Shannon Garrett, number 23, who I just circled, could not get out to the flat. He was picked.
Of course he was.
Well, the defense the offense realizes that they're way up. So does the defense of Winnipeg, expecting probably a running play. Nice call by the sideline of Calgary.
Dave Dickinson, 5'11", 185, but he's got a cannon for an arm. And the fans here in Calgary have been looking forward to seeing it. From the shotgun, lots of early movement. And he might have the good stutter count, too.
32 move! George Nogan looked like Colin Scribner jumped.
Procedure, Calgary 59.
But they were drawn.
Ah.
Well, there's the dangers. You always have a new count. People are going to move. Garcia's been in the game the whole game, and now Dave Dickinson comes in with a different count and different voice inflections. Make you flinch.
He's got a voice like OB. That could cause problems in that huddle.
Make a lot of people flinch.
Obie's going to kill me. First down, they give it off to Kelvin Anderson. Anderson trying to get outside, gets past to Wayne Knight, and fights his way up to the 35-yard line, the original line of scrimmage. Well, the problem for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has been largely on defense the last few weeks. Last in the Canadian Football League, and these numbers are updated. They've allowed 20 touchdowns, the most points, the most yards rushing, and the most yards in total offense. And it's a real problem for the Bombers.
And they've likely been on the field the longest of any defense in the league as well.
Wow, they've been left alone to their own devices for quite a while. Second and just over 10. Dickinson, look out, he's in trouble. And Dickinson goes down. Reggie Carthon, the defensive halfback, came on the blitz and got Dave Dickinson. And he'll make his way to the sidelines after his first series in the regular season in the Canadian Football League.
Reggie Carthon is on this side of the screen, comes right up here on the halfback blitz. He gets picked up initially. See Jay McNeil slid out, but he keeps working, comes underneath, and Dickinson has nowhere to go.
Well, that'll be a good piece of film for Dave to look at, because he had Joe Rogers open on the curl route to the side he was rolling and just didn't squeeze the trigger on it. So you're always learning as a quarterback.
Well, you spot open guys pretty well from up here, huh? Easy game from up here, isn't it? Tony Martino with the punt. This is Dexter Dawson from the 50. Dawson trying to get outside and staying with him step for step on the play was Aldi Henry, who finally forces him out of bounds. So the first couple of games in the Canadian Football League this week, last night we saw Toronto really, and I mean really, hand a pasting to Montreal. And tonight the Calgary Stampeders very impressive against Winnipeg. How about Robert Drummond last night? It was a one-man gang against Montreal. 3 first-half touchdowns, 4 in all. Kevin McDougall's had a good night. Winnipeg might wonder what might have been had he not been hurt on the final play of the first half. McDougall here from the shotgun. Sets it up for Tyrone Montgomery. And Montgomery just gets down, is hustling out to make the stop with Steven Anderson.
Way to go, defense!
I think we'll hear some noise from Tyrone Montgomery before this season's over with. Very talented receiver, played in the NFL, extremely fast, and this coaching staff very excited about him.
Now from the shotgun, McDougall sends it out there, and the catch is made by Turhan O'Bannon right near the first down marker at the 45-yard line. It should be a Winnipeg first down. And also into the game now for Winnipeg, Mike Mihelic, former second-round pick of the Hamilton Ticats, who was signed as a free agent by the Bombers. They like this guy, and they're getting their first look at him. 40-16, the lead for Calgary. Friday Night Football returns.
Assessment of those two.
I think Roger's done a good job, and you know, he deserves a good chance to play. Both Roger and John are lacking in experience. So time will tell what happens to them in terms of who plays and who gets the job done.
Thanks very much, guys.
And look at that, as we talk about defensive backs, Kevin McDougall hooks up with Milt Stegall for his second touchdown of the game, and a breakdown in coverage by the Stampeders.
And not necessarily a breakdown scheme-wise, but just as we're talking about John Kalin at the safety position, he comes across and doesn't get quite enough on the hit on Milt Stegall. You see 19 sort of half-play the ball, half-play the man, and end up the nail as he hits the ground, and Stegall comes up with the football.
A 45-yard touchdown for Milt Stegall, who's made the most of his opportunities tonight. Stegall has 2 catches for 120 yards, both for touchdowns. Wow. He's averaging 60 yards a catch. They'll go for 2 again. McDougall to the end zone. It's knocked down. Pass is knocked away by Eddie Davis. So for the second time, a 2-point conversion try by the Bombers comes up short, and the score remains 40-22.
When you're the safety and you're coming across, you have to make a decision immediately. Do I go for the football or do I play the man? I think John Kalin sort of got in between, went up for the ball and also hit Stegall, and Stegall comes down with it.
Well, Milt Stegall, tell you what kind of night is that?
Well, the amazing thing about that play is Stegall was the clearing route for Boyko coming on the in route. You saw Boyko come back underneath Stegall. Stegall just stops, gears down in the seam, and goes up between 2 defenders and fights him for the play. But we talked earlier about how Coach Reinbold really thinks Stegall is one of the premier receivers in this league, and the 2 plays he's made tonight when he's had an opportunity have certainly warranted that.
He entered this game in 4th place in receiving yards in the league for a Winnipeg team that has not thrown the ball very well. The Bombers are the lowest ranked passing team in the league through 5 weeks of the season. Next week, it doesn't get any easier. They go to Edmonton. But that'll end the stretch where they play 5 of 7, their first 7 this year, on the road. Kickoff goes down to Marvin Coleman at the 13-yard line. Coleman up across the 30, reverses his tracks, and dives out to about the 35-yard line. So John Kalin, who had to stay out there now to block on that kickoff return, will now make his way to the sidelines, where the defensive coaches for the Calgary Stampeders are no doubt waiting to speak to him.
Well, if you're going to play the football, you got to cut under and take that chance. And Kalin could decide one way or the other, and Wally Buono just says, hey, don't worry, buddy. You only had a few practices here. We'll get that right. And he can do that when he's up in the scoreboard like this.
Yeah, that would have been the go-ahead. Yeah, might have been a different story.
Might have been a different couple words from Wally.
Dave Dickinson into the game now, his 2nd series. Gives it off to Dwayne Ford, and Ford carries it on across the 35 to the 37-yard line.
Dwayne Ford, number 34, with the Calgary.
Well, the one thing the Calgary Stampeders have really prospered from over the years is a strong football program in their own backyard. The University of Calgary has turned out a lot of great players over the years, and they've been to the Vanier Cup twice in the 90s, and 5 players from those 2 Vanier Cup teams are now on the Calgary roster. And there's more elsewhere in the Canadian Football League. On second down, Dickinson going over the top. Wants Travis Moore, and he's got it. Down to the 42-yard line. A great throw by Dickinson, and an even better catch by Travis Moore.
Well, it is a super throw, but it's an even better catch by Travis Moore, as you said. But I think Shannon Garrett is victimized again, and this is a better defensive halfback than we're seeing because of the broken hand. He's being victimized on some of these plays, and I really think he makes a play on this if his hand's not broken.
He really is hampered about trying to get over and get his hands on the football, and they have gone on after him. And you see the referee was trying to get his flag. He was already on the ground. The flags are jumping out of the pockets now. They're doing that on their own.
A 32-yard gain gives Calgary a first down. Back to the ground they go. Farrell Duclair fights his way down to the 35-yard line, so Wally Buono gets a look at some players that he hasn't had a chance to see much. Duclair, a first-round pick, scored a touchdown early in this game from a yard out. Stampeders excited about Dave Dickinson. You can see why on that last throw.
Well, you don't throw 11,000 yards worth of balls by accident in college. He's definitely come from a good
How many
program.
did you have at Iowa State?
It wasn't 11,000 yards.
Do you not know? Dickinson, under pressure, he's dropped by Shante People. You know every stat you have.
No, you know. Well, you know,
your modesty prevents you.
We got the ball down the field a few times, but I never racked up the yards that this guy racked. I think you're starting to talk about Doug Flutie type numbers in college when you start talking about Dave Dickinson's numbers.
Well, they retired his jersey in college. Now, how about, is yours hanging on the wall?
No, I didn't give a lot of money to the alumni.
Oh, is that how that happens?
The alumni.
Oh, it's a political thing. Right? Yeah, you got hurt by the politics. Yeah, it happens to a lot of people, I understand. Flutie's is up, though. Well. Now Mark McLaughlin to try a 47-yard field goal. His longest of the year is 52. McLaughlin's 4 for 4 tonight. Dickinson the holder. McLaughlin's got lots on it and puts it through. A good night for Mark McLaughlin. He's 5 for 5. And Calgary with a 21-point lead. And that's back-to-back home games for Mark McLaughlin. He's been outstanding. He's 10 for his last 10 at home.
Friday night football, doing a great job for Mark McLaughlin.
Yeah, he'll want to play every Friday.
10 on Friday night.
Bombers did not have a first down in the third quarter of this game, and that was really the point that the game turned around. Kevin McDougall's had not a bad night, but Jeff Garcia has accounted for 3 touchdowns. He's thrown 2 and rushed for another.
If I'm on defense and there's no first downs, I've had a long night. That's a lot of plays. I'm tired right now.
Kevin McDougall running for his life, up and throwing. Look out, he's got another man deep. Milt Stiegel. I'll tell you what, if you got 3 catches for 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, retire, because you'll never have a better night.
You're calling TSN for a copy of the tape. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, coming up next Friday, we'll be at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton. Bobby Jurison and the Saskatchewan Rough Run. McDougall up and throwing again. Has it complete there to Tyrone Montgomery as the Bombers are anxious to see what he can do with the football. And before the game, we asked Kevin McDougall what he thought of Tyrone Montgomery. He just kind of went, he can fly.
Yeah, everybody's eyes got real big when they started talking about Tyrone Montgomery, and I think he's going to play. He's going to pay some dividends for this team, but he doesn't know enough of the offense. He knows the little curl routes and the underneath stuff. Once they get him involved in the offense full-fledged, he'll be a heck of a weapon for him.
Under a minute to play now in the fourth quarter. McDougall under pressure. Able to get it away and has it complete there to another guy they want to see involved more in the offense. That's Dexter Dawson. We talked about this a moment ago, Dave, but getting him involved in the offense is a priority for the Bombers.
Yeah, Dexter Dawson has to be involved. You see the electricity that he provides them on special teams. This is a guy that was a running back in college, has been moved to defensive back because of the lack of depth in the secondary. but he is a heck of a talent when he has the football in his hands, and I think they need to get him involved offensively.
You know, when you're looking at the Winnipeg offense, and you're trying to get the ball to Dexter Dawson.
Winnipeg 57. After the play, first down.
Or Tyrone Montgomery. You know, and you got to think that once you get down, even your game plan could be set up to get the ball to those guys. And I know, talking to Joe Powell before the game, that Tyrone Montgomery was a big part of their game plan. But when you get down the scoreboard, that sort of goes on the shelf, and you start to.
Brett McNeil has called for unnecessary roughness, which moves the Bombers back to their own 50. McNeil up and slinging again. That pass falls incomplete. Well, we talked about one of the key points in the game. It was at the end of the first half, and really, Dave, a meaningless play. It came on the final play of the half, and it was going nowhere. And as McDougall ran out of bounds, Anthony McClanahan got a hand on him, and McDougall jammed his back. But you think about it, it was really a nothing play.
Yeah, and really nobody to fault there. McDougall's trying to get out of bounds. McClanahan grabs him as they're going out. He doesn't actually pull him down out of bounds. He's just making the tackle.
But look at the numbers he's put up tonight. He's 20 for 29 with a couple of touchdown passes. And this is the last touchdown pass to Milt Stegall, which is his second of the game.
Well, better lucky than good any day, and he got lucky there because Kalen should either pick that off or batted it down, and Stegall certainly wasn't the primary target on that, but every now and then you sneak one in there.
Rather be lucky than good.
I'd like to be both.
Well, I mean,
I'd like to be one.
No, if you look at that, you see Pope heading off to the sideline, but you look at that, you're real good. The other guy just gets lucky, he always wins. He always makes a play.
We'll have to evaluate that.
George's still sorting that one out.
You can't have more than one thought in a sentence for me. It kind of throws me for a loop. McDougall on second down. Looking for Turhan O'Bannon. Did he make the catch? Yes. Nice catch by O'Bannon into Calgary territory at the 50-yard line for a gain of 10 yards.
Well, I've gotten a chance to watch this guy the last 2 weeks on Friday Night Football here on TSN, and he's really done a heck of a job catching the football, inside and outside. Went over in traffic last week, now catching tightrope in the sideline, making the grabs for McDougall to extend a drive.
But it'll be another long plane flight home for Jeff Reinbold and the Bombers. Under 30 seconds to go. Back they go to Turhan O'Bannon, who steps out of bounds quickly at the 41-yard line.
You know the Calgary defense is playing off a little bit, but positive thing for, as you see the standings in the West for Winnipeg, is the play of McDougall, no question.
Well, now Calgary next week plays Toronto, and Saskatchewan plays Hamilton tomorrow. Things in the West remain very intriguing. That pass batted at the line of scrimmage and almost intercepted by Kenton Leonard. He's been close to having his third interception of the year a couple of times on this night. And meantime, in the East Division, Toronto, like Edmonton, is out to a 5-1 start. Montreal's 3-3, while Hamilton and Winnipeg languish at the bottom of that division. We'll see Hamilton tomorrow against Saskatchewan.
And probably the team is trying to sort the cobwebs more than anybody in the league is Montreal, struggling after 3 consecutive losses.
Kevin McDougall under pressure, and he is dropped. Dwayne Patterson got him, and it happened about 10 yards away from Jeff Reinbold, who had the best seat in the house to see his quarterback get dropped. Dwayne Patterson with his 6th sack of the year. And they're smiling on the Stampeders sideline. Kelvin Anderson and others, lots to grin about.
Well, Calgary Stampeders talked about this week that that's the one thing Kelvin Anderson in the running game they've liked all season, and they thought they've been consistent at. Everything else they were worried about a little bit and been working on, but they've been happy with Kelvin Anderson's performance.
15 seconds to play in the 4th quarter, and the Stampeders will simply run the timeout and celebrate their 2nd win of the year as they give it off to Farrell Duclair. And Duclair gets down to the 45-yard line. So the Stamps now can celebrate that 2nd win, but not for long, because it gets tough for them. Home to Toronto next week, and they've got back-to-back with the Edmonton Eskimos coming in early September, their annual Labor Day week home and home with the Eskimos.
I think what Calgary would like to do is fight back to 500 if they can around the break. If they do that, they're going to be in a hunt, and people are going to be looking over their shoulders at the Calgary Stampeders.
Closed-door meetings, but there's no substitute for execution. And the Calgary Stampeders were near perfect Pacific tonight. Wally Buono and his team now 2-4 on the year.
And don't miss great stand-up comedy right
And
away.
there's been some bad blood
Presented by Yuck Yucks Comedy Club.
on the field as there's some yapping going on back and forth, but Reinbold and Buono shake hands. And a tough blow for the Bombers, who fall to 1-5 on the year.